Hopefully no freezes. All right, red light's on. What is happening, Fish and friends? Welcome to another Saturday night. Dizzle in here 6 seconds early, not cutting it close or anything, but you made it. You know,
He's here.
yeah,
I made
you
it.
made it.
I made it. Hey,
Looking-
who last time we went fishing? Who was the first one there?
Sounds like it was Dizzle.
Yeah, that's because we met at like 8 o'clock or something.
We
If
met
it's
at
any-
6:30.
Yeah, basically the same thing. If it's anything before like 5 o'clock, you're for sure an hour late.
Oh yeah, it's 5 o'clock. Before 5, it's early. Come on.
Oh,
now.
I thought you meant Eastern time. All right. Well, anyway, Dizzle looking handsome as ever.
Earlier.
What?
That's even earlier Eastern
Yeah.
time at 5. Come on.
Same
now.
thing. You knew what I meant.
It's 8:30 right now.
Yeah. See, exactly. You're going off Eastern time, Dizzle. You don't even know what time it is there.
It's usually how I am.
Yeah, it's all right. We still love them. So we've got a fun live tonight. So I posed a question, I don't know, a few days ago or a week ago. Hell, I don't remember. They all kind of run together. Of some channels that maybe I don't watch or maybe I haven't talked about that we should have on. We had boom, like 5 right in a row of my subscribed Fish and friends saying, Real Northern Bass, reach out to these guys. So I said, okay, reached out right away. Boom. You guys answered. Absolutely, we'd love to. And then I kind of regretted my decision after I started watching them a lot because, they fish offshore and they love drop shots. I'm like, oh, God, what mistake did I make?
We love everything. It's just our
That's
most
all
recent
right.
stuff was offshore drop shot.
Yeah. I watched that video and some other ones, and I knew Dizzle was going to be all happy about it. So if there's any cues to maybe what we're going to talk about. No, but I'm kidding though. I said these guys are going to be a lot of fun because I'm going to pick their brain on offshore stuff. Big bait stuff. It's going to be kind of an open Q&A tonight. They do lives just like us, asking questions back and forth, razzing each other. So it should be a very homey experience to what we're all used to. So tell us about you fellas. How did Real Northern Bass get started? What are your, roots in fishing, and give us the elevator speech.
All right. Well, we've both been fishing since we were yay big.
Yeah.
Me with my dad, Andrew with his grandfather mostly. And how the channel came about, I used to have a huge gaming channel back in the day that started in 2009, and I got burnt out on it and basically just walked away from it. It's still there. It's called Shoosty Bang. It's not pronounced the way you think it is. And it's probably part of the reason why we didn't grow as much. But it was fun while it lasted. It peaked at like 52,000 subscribers, which in 2012, 2013 terms, I guess was still pretty good.
Yeah.
And I just got burnt out in the scene. And at the exact same time that I walked away from it, and I mean, it's still there. I own the rights to it. I had a career change. I was miserable. I didn't have a creative outlet anymore. And my wife just surprised me with the GoPro one day. And she's like, you need to do something. Like, just go. I was like, all right. And I was already fishing all the time anyway. So I just was like, I guess I'll try cast a catch. I don't know what else to do. There wasn't much that I felt I could speak about from like a knowledgeable standpoint to like, hey, I can help people learn this. And it just continued to evolve, and I just used it as my creative outlet. We kept fishing together more and more. Andrew had come on fishing with me like well before I even got the GoPro.
Yeah, it was before.
Yeah. And I don't know, like the GoPro, like I just started making more videos, and I started like, I get to a point like, oh, okay, I can talk about this. I know a lot about that. And I noticed that there really wasn't a lot of content specific to the Northeast. And you cut the whole country in half, right? That northern half, it's pretty much the same for what you find for forage and, you know, what you find for your seasonal patterns and what those seasons look like for timing and the whole 9 yards. And as I learned more, I started talking more, and never had a game plan. I just wanted something to be able to do while I was at home, like at the end of the night when I wanted something creative, because I wasn't getting that with my career for several years. And it just continued to evolve and grow. And we're at where we're at now. I don't know, 66 some odd thousand subscribers on YouTube, and knocking on the door on 10,000 followers on Instagram, which I'm really happy about, because I never thought I'd get there. And it's just we just go fishing. And that's all it is. We take 5 minutes every morning to set up the GoPros.
Yeah,
we have 5 of them, but we've got our system down. And I did put a lot of research into how I would set that up. It takes us less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Set it all up, and it runs all day. Like we literally don't touch them, because if I had to, this channel wouldn't exist.
Unless we
Yeah.
hit him with a jig.
Unless we, I've got some pretty banged up cases on the GoPros right now from slapping them with jigs,
That's my bad.
and we just fish, man. Like our whole goal every time we go out is 1, have fun, and then 2, try and learn. And
Yes.
then at the end of the day, like
Same
I've
as us.
gotten better about like in the middle of the day being like, I didn't even talk to the GoPro all day, which I usually don't. But I'm like, you know what? We've got something going here, and I'll sit down and I'll talk about that. And every once in a while, I will go out of my way to record something very specific where I'm not fishing, and I'll talk for 15 minutes, and I'll make a video from that. But most of it, we just fish, and we record it, and if something happens, cool.
We fish, we try new stuff, and then we catch fish. I don't. And then we record it. So
Damn, Ralph, stay safe out there. Just moved to California. He's already under some hurricane watches.
Dang.
Yikes.
ooh,
Be safe, brother.
They say
should text Oliver.
Oh yeah, not a bad idea.
They just got home.
Dizzle drop shots with a jig. Probably, yeah. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Oh, that's a good idea. Ooh,
Hey,
Oh,
real quick
Lord.
question for you guys, since you were talking about your daily, fishing activities, I guess.
mhm.
When you two get together and you fish, do you ever get to the point where one of you may be fishing something totally different than the other, and then you're just like kind of get stubborn, and you're like, I'm not gonna fish what you fish. I don't even want to catch fish off of what you figured out, and
Yeah, anything
don't
perch.
I know, because me and Debo fish whenever we're together, we're throwing different things, and if he starts hitting them on X,
Trying
Y,
to
or
figure out the
Z,
bite. Yep.
yeah, and I'm throwing A, B, and C, I'm like, I'm not throwing what you're throwing. That's stupid. I'm gonna grind this into their faces and force them to bite it, or I'm just gonna get skunked, because I'm not gonna go down to Debo's level and fish what he's fishing.
I mean, it happens all the time. Whether we're fishing the same color, like say we're just fishing jigs, and I'm fishing something that's just like a super dark color, and he's fishing like
Mhm.
a lighter like green pumpkin or whatever. And say he starts getting on him, and I'm just like, nope,
Yep,
I'm gonna
nope.
make him eat it. And then after
Yep.
like 10 fish, I'm like, okay, I'll switch.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Just
that's like something that we've always, the two of us are we're pretty much always on the same page in the sense of like we just want to catch fish. And
Yes.
there's always a preference for how we want to do that, but like we put, I don't know, last like 8 to 10 years now of like hardcore focus. Oh, Jesus Christ, no, like 10 to 11 years of like trying to learn as much as we can, so that no matter what, we put fish in the boat. But now we're like at a point too where it's like, I have a preference, and the bigger baits are becoming a bigger part of that. And Andrew's like really, really diehard into the glides, big glides, like, depths 250.
That's
Yeah, I
cute.
forgot about Brendan. Brendan was one I just highlighted too. There's going to be a whole bunch of big bait nerds in here drooling. Oh, these guys
yeah.
like to throw the big baits too.
calm
But,
down, Brennan.
They
Calm
drop,
down.
they drop shot and throw
This
big
one,
baits.
Is that the
That one.
303?
yeah, it's quite large. It's 12
Yeah.
inches.
Jeez.
But
Hold on. So he's literally throwing like my shoe out there.
Ow, shit, I just got whacked in the head by rods.
That means you don't have enough rods. You should buy more. That's what.
Well,
that
I mean,
means.
okay, so I just
I saw
got
that
this.
brown bait.
Which one?
Brown bait company said his crawler is a great one. Oh wait, not the crawler. Sorry, this is just not really the crawler. The only crawler I have is a Defiant crawler, which
I can't
So
even
let's
get
see.
this.
Since
dropping
we're getting
very
into baits,
soon.
I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold that because I want to get into big bait stuff here too. I know you guys have
Okay,
some
we'll
show and
wait.
tell.
We'll
Yeah.
wait.
Hold on. So first off, the first question. This is the
Excited.
intro question I have to ask everyone. I know. Yeah. Hold your show and tell. Okay. So for both of you, what is your favorite lure or / technique to throw? And I'm not saying like, oh, this catches me the most fish, like Ned rig. Like I love to throw Ned rig, but it's not my favorite. Like for me, it's a frog. If I could only do one thing, I know it might not catch the most fish, or I can't throw it everywhere. But like, what's your favorite? If you could get on your dream bite, you die and go to fish in heaven. What are you fishing?
I think it depends on the season.
yeah. If you had to pick like one
Pick
thing,
one.
jig, but that's an easy answer. But beyond that, for me, Alabama rig, because it's a lot harder where we do it up here in the Northeast, because like you can't even throw it in New Hampshire. Which,
not
to
allowed.
answer Kirk's question, we're based out of Southern New Hampshire, and we do all our fishing all over New England.
Mhm.
the Northeast, the greater Northeast. We go to New York at least once a year, but
We were just there like 2 weeks ago.
that we were. But Alabama rig, yeah. New Hampshire,
Okay.
you're only allowed a 3-armed rig with 1 real hook on it. Vermont, and Massachusetts, you're allowed 5 arms, but you can only have 2 real hooks on it, so 3 dummies. And it makes it a little more challenging, but my God, is that one of the most fun bites you can get on? Because
Another one
even like
I
a
have-
1.5 pounder feels like a freaking tank.
Yeah, that's man. You guys are. We might have to have you on more often and just do picking the real northern bass brain, because I'm not a A-rig guy either. Not my jam.
I just got into it. We were up in Plattsburgh, New York, where the elites are right now.
Yep.
I ran out of something, so we ran to Dick's Sporting Goods, and I came around the corner and I saw this rack of hair jigs. So I bought like 8 of them, and the next day we went out and I started catching fish on it. And the first fish I caught on it was a 4.5 pound smallie. So I was like,
That'll give you some confidence in it.
this is something. So you kept fishing it and fishing and fishing. You kept catching big smallies, and then caught a 4 pound largie on it. And I was like, all right. So after that trip, I drove like 4.5 hours home, and I made it back in time to stop at the local fly fishing shop. I spent over $200 on stuff just so I could start tying my own hair jigs, and I started tying them. And actually,
The fishing
I got 'em.
addiction is real.
So
Randy Sully, congrats, dude, on the new PB. I saw that. That was a tank.
So I just started tying them, and it's now one of my
Especially for you guys. Do you guys ice fish?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Not if I can help it.
So it's like,
Well, I was going to say, during the downtime winter, yeah, it's another fun hobby to keep in the fishing stuff.
There
They
ain't no
look
such thing as
sad.
downtime for us.
because they're not in the water, but I mean, they're
Yeah,
not.
hell yeah.
I did
Nice.
1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, and I think I have 1 3/8 for no reason, just because I had it. Oh, and I did one on a chatterbait. So
You tied a hair jig on a chatterbait,
yep,
or a hair jig look on a chat. What would you call that? A
hair.
hairy
Yeah.
chatter. Ooh, got to watch out for the hairy chatters. Let's see what else we got going here. I'm picking questions too. So if you see me randomly laughing or making faces, it's because chat usually starts to blow up here and there in all sorts of different directions going on stuff. So don't take offense. I'm picking questions and laughing
No,
at
you're
people
good.
going back and
Yep.
forth. Let's see. Okay, so that's your favorites. Now, how about your worst? Like, I know it catches fish. Like sometimes I do it, but I kick myself in the strawberries when I have to do it. Like
Drop
when I get
shot. Ned rig.
Yes.
I was just saying
Yes.
you can't seriously tell me drop shot. Ned rig I absolutely buy
just-
for me, but drop shot, come on.
I'd rather not, but I still do, and I kind of pretend like I do like it, but at the same time, it's like I'd rather catch them on a jig or like an okashira or like a spy bait or something like I don't know. This smallies specifically.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
He says he pretends he likes it, but I know when we were up on Champlain for that week, we got into a decent little drop shot bite at one point. And he looks at me, he's like, "Okay, this is fun."
It was.
Big old smile on his face.
Dude, yeah, if I was catching them like that, I could get used to it real quick, especially if I had a boat. Like if Dizzle and I were out on the boat all the time, like learning it, it's definitely cast shallow, cast next to stuff, piles and such, and bring it back to you on the boat. Way easier than being bank nerds like us when we go beat the banks and trying to drop shot around a bunch of stuff. It's just
I've
kind of hell.
spent plenty of time on the bank too, so
Yep.
I've never thrown. I don't think I've ever thrown drop shot off the bank. I've definitely
I
spent
definitely
plenty
have
of
not.
jigs off the bank though.
That's rough. Oh yeah, that's Dizzle the jig guy got me into the whole finesse jig game, and after like the 17th trip of him beating my brains in with a jig and outfishing me 27-1, I'm like, okay, I need to learn finesse jigs. Okay, so I'm pinging questions here. Man, y'all are getting all kinds of good stuff here. I'm just going to grab the oldest one that I've got because we're going to start going through Q&A. If you guys see anything, speak up. Anything is on the table. Just want to get to know you guys and pick your brains on stuff. So here's a good one. What's your favorite drop shot hook?
I'm a simple guy. I like the Gamakatsu split shot, drop shot, one-aught. Like, it just works. It's rare that I have an issue with that hook. So I try not to overthink it. I can find them anywhere. They're dead consistent. They're good size. They're sticky but stout enough. They're just kind of happy medium all around. There probably is a better hook out there, but I'd like to take a look if BKK Hooks has one, which I do believe they do, and that would be a little bit better quality. But I just stick with the Gamakatsus for now.
Those, and if I'm actually buying drop shot hooks, if I'm ever going to go out drop shotting by myself, it's either those or like the Trocars.
Trocars are nice.
Those are good too.
Yeah, I've got my little drop shot experience. One that has helped me is like the longer rebarb hook. It's like a Finesse. It looks like a Finesse J flipping hook type thing. I know RoboWorm sells one now. I think I've got some of the Trocars actually that you were saying. They've got like a little plastic keeper so you can rig your worm on there just like you would like a miniature flipping hook. Fishing from the bank to help keep you out of stuff. It has helped me because fishing like a regular open hook, like a mosquito hook, nose rigged, and like a little shad bait or a worm or something, you just get snagged so darn much, so it's like
usually how we do it, and just lose a bunch of stuff all the time.
Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah.
It is.
That's the reason I hate it so much, is because I feel like I'm always getting snagged. Then I got to retie my leader. Oh, broke my leader, and now I got to retie a new leader.
Well, if you're getting stuck and breaking off and stuff, that means you're in the right spot.
Damn right.
So,
true. Yep. I learned that with other stuff, and I deny to accept it on a drop shot. So, okay, Scott, he said, "Hell yeah, some New Englanders got lots of the members." Of course, I want to thank the members. Oh, and real quick, somebody else, I didn't ping you here, but somebody said thanks for getting our stickers out. I did get stickers out to all the members, and you'll notice the board is looking a lot more empty. Joshua, I don't remember. I had a question for Joshua. If Mike is on, Mike, I had you for the Thunderhawk giveaway, but I also had you for this one. Did you win too? Or was it a dummy Debo moment and I wrote down the wrong things? Then losing big fish. We're waiting for Brennan's lure to come in. And
Josh,
I will send you all those. Joshua Wagner. You already get his?
Didn't Josh Simons win one recently too?
No, he's not allowed to win anymore. I hooked him up with a super
not
special.
Since December.
Yeah, we got a couple guys like that in our stream that just always win.
Is it Joshua? Yeah, Joshua who? Not me. No, not you, Joshua Simonson. You've already ran me dry of all the fishing stuff that I have. No, I'm kidding. See, the thing that I always say is you might have these winners, but that means that they're always watching every week. So I appreciate the heck out of folks like that. Let's see. So tonight I will do another giveaway. I was cleaning stuff out, random boxes of stuff, whole bunch of lures. I've got a couple of these here I put together. So we'll do one depending on how many people we get. If we get over 250 here in a bit, maybe we'll do a couple. We're knocking on the door of 200. We're at 175 now. So invite your grandma, get on your alternate account.
I can't.
Well, hey. You got to find ways. Got to make it happen. If you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen, right? Let's see. Brendan said, "What's the biggest bait?" Okay, so we're going to get into big baits. So I'm going to back up a step. I'm going to leave this parked here. Dizzle, think of a big bait question for him. You're down there. I don't know if you're pondering and figuring out a way to send my computer a virus.
I actually have one.
Or what?
I believe I have one already.
Okay. So I'm going to ask him as our leading question, what got you into either the big baits or what gave you the itch? We were talking about some people before. Was there a certain person or was there a day? Kind of like you were talking about with the drop shot where you just smash them and you're like, oh my gosh, live baits. What?
So funny enough, like I got started in big baits a lot earlier than I think a lot of our followers understand or are aware of. And I'm trying to think, this was back in 2015, I think. It was like before I had almost anything on my boat. And it was shortly after I started recording everything. And I remember seeing some videos out of California and it got me thinking. I was like, you know what? Those guys are fishing a lot of trout, like big swim bait stuff. I think that could work out here. So I got looking and I ended up finding, Huddleston, which everybody had at one point and a lot of people still use. And they came out that Deluxe 68. And whenever that came out, like that was the point where I started looking. So I ended up buying one of those.
Fat-tailed one where they like combine the two Huddlestons or whatever?
Yeah, but then it was only like a 6.5 inch swim bait, and then it was the hook was buried in the body. So I was like, and they had one of the best yellow perch patterns I could find, and I was like, I have to have that, and I bought it, and I didn't catch anything but pickerel on it for the first year, but at the same time, on the heels of that, I bought a Spro like 3-piece glide. And I didn't know it was a glide at the time or something similar to a glide. And I had no idea how to use the thing. It was a super slow sink, and I went out and I was just experimenting on one of my favorite bodies of water. And I just remember there's this one particular area. Andrew, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Where in the summer, it's this crazy, giant, shallow, like, shelf. And there's probably, like, anywhere from 20 to 30 schools of, you know, like 100 yellow perch each roaming this one spot. It's nuts. So we always go out there. We always do exceptionally well. And I had just been there for 2 weeks consecutively killing it. So I was like, I'm going to take that there because if I have a chance of catching fish on that, it's going to be that. I ended up sticking like a, I don't know, 3.5 pound largemouth, just 3 something on that thing. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I was like, that was awesome. And it just very slowly evolved from there until Andrew and I both really started doing it together. And then, like, I started learning more about other bait makers, especially here in New England. There's like a just huge amount of crazy big bait makers. And that was kind of where I got started. But where it's gone from there, Andrew can answer much better than I can.
So I saw this one bait and I've always wanted it just because it looked cool and I saw a bunch of people fishing it over the years, and like the OG ones now are super expensive. But we were working the New England Fishing Expo. We had a booth there and we set up, and Sean was there, had already showed up, and I knew there was like a big bait like booth there, MGC. They have a bunch of baits, like custom baits, like manufactured baits, everything. So I went and bought myself a DEBO'S 250. This is the first bait, big bait, glide bait that I wanted. And we showed Debo earlier that this bait is only supposed to have a joint about like that. So he has one that has caught fish, but this one I've caught so many goddamn fish on that the joint is just completely stretched out.
Let me put go belly down so you can see what it's supposed to look like versus what he's done to it from his success.
How big is that one?
This
10
is
8 inch?
10 inch.
10 inch. Good
10 inch.
Lord.
And I have caught, I lost count, but I think I lost count around like 30 fish on it.
Okay,
And
so let me pause you there. As you're getting into big bait, you actually I should let you finish your story. Keep going. I'll save my question.
No, I was,
keep going.
and then from there, I
told you I'm gonna want to pick your guys' brains with these questions. So I love people that fish stuff different than me, because like you guys, I like to learn, and it's fun to have guys like you that are just open about it, and you know we can hang out. Like the biggest compliment I've ever gotten is, dude, I love DEBO'S channel because I feel like we could all crack some dad pops and sit around a fire and talk fishing. And like that is it for me. Like that's what I want my channel to be, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just shooting the shit all day long.
Exactly. Talking fishing,
So,
hanging out.
I went from going from this, and Oliver and I from Big Bass Dreams was like, because I was looking at this bait that he did a collaboration with Gancraft. And he texted me one day and he's like, "Don't be a bitch." So then I went to this one, which is the Gancraft 303, the Big Bass Dreams edition collab, whatever. It's a 12-inch bait. Have not caught anything on this yet, but I am going to work the hell out of it this year and hope for the best. I mean, if I can catch my PB on this thing, or at least have it follow it up, which I think I had PB followed this up multiple times. Was it last year?
I think it was last year.
Last year, the year before, and couldn't get him to commit. But I did get my biggest on it is a 610, 6 pounds 10 ounces. So, and I think that's what did most of us. Not yet. It's the only state in the greater Northeast we have not fished yet. There's a lot of access restriction issues in Rhode Island. Massachusetts is really bad. Rhode Island is even worse. And they have a lot less options to choose from down there. But I'd like to get down there. Actually, we had a very loose plan this year to try and like travel all the major states in the Northeast and like stay in that state until we got, 20 plus pounds on our best 5. And then we move on to the next state. And
that's fun.
We just didn't do it yet. I mean, we have done it so far. We're just not actually like
not recording it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But yeah, the big baits are fun. They catch big
Okay,
fish.
so that's what I wanted to get into. I'm marking. I don't mean to show them here. I'm trying to hide or do the star thing. Okay, so that was my question leading into this. So you said, okay, hopefully I can catch my PB on this. You know, said don't be a weenie, get into throwing these. So how do you get into, like, how did you get the confidence of I've got the bug now? You know, obviously besides catching fish on it, where did you feel like you had that light bulb of? Did you have that moment? Because I feel like for each bait, there's kind of like that day or time where like a little piece clicks, and it's like that is really what gets you going up the stairs. Like I remember fishing young. I used to fish safe, like 3 feet out from bushes, 3 feet out from longs, because I never wanted to get snagged. And the more I was working on my casting, I get closer and closer. Then I'd be bumping stuff and hitting stuff, and I noticed fish would hit it. I'm like, man, like you have to get right up on some of this stuff. And then it started clicking like, okay, I love spinner baits. If I can fish them even closer to this stuff, or know that I'm going to lose a few of these, it's okay, right? If I'm getting those bites. Like, did you ever get into any of that for big bait fishing? Or I don't know. What would you tell somebody that has no confidence like me?
You literally just have to like jump off a curb face first into the street.
No, that's what everybody says. Just fish
And
them.
For the most part, yeah.
You literally have to like, your brain is just like static when you're throwing and be like, I'm not going to catch shit on this. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to catch anything.
That was my next question.
And then all of a sudden it's just like, zoom, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. And that's what keeps guys going for it. And like, we have a lot of friends that are like, this is all they do. And some of them, this is how they got into fishing. There's some that were like traditional anglers, like all of ourselves here. And then they got bit by the big bait bite. And like, that's all they do. And they're content with going fishing, 10 times and skunking 9 out of those 10 before they stick like one good fish, or even just a fish for that matter. But for me to answer that question, what made it easier for me and what got me started with it was I just was curious to start. And that first 2 years was like brutal. And I got thinking, I was like, there's got to be a smarter way to go about doing this. And then I started finding things like crankdowns. And I'm like, well, that's just a giant square bill, really, when you think about it. And I can't remember. DEFCON, which is made by a guy out of Massachusetts. And that was like the first, garage built big swim bait that I got. And had a big lip on it, cranks down to about 3 feet deep, and it's just a giant perch. And for me, I'm just looking at this like, this is another tool in the toolbox. And when I find the right application where I think a square bill would kill it, and I've then gone and fished a square bill or something kind of along that realm, and it started doing really well,
I had too.
That's when I'm going to pull out the bigger bait. And for the first 2 years, crushed it doing that. But it was one of those like, okay, I'm like 30 fish in on a stellar day. Now I can like confidently pick this up, and it's either going to work or I've only wasted like half an hour to an hour of my time, and I'll just go back and keep crushing them on this thing. And whether or not I just won't eat the big bait, or I just didn't have the right color or whatever, but you got to get like, this is my Pats, and this is my pride and joy.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. So this is my Pats, my pride and joy. And that's not a big swim bait. It's pretty small, things considered.
It's cute.
What's a Pats for us noobs that don't know?
So, wow, I just realized both eyes are gone now. So, Pat's is made by a guy named Pat in Massachusetts. They're very, very hard to come by. But, and then, like, that's it. Very garage built. Just extremely difficult to come by. And what I like about this is because this is only like 6 inches?
6, 7 inches? Okay, yeah. See, I'm comfortable. I'm
6
finally
inches.
getting to the spot where and actually Brendan was just telling me I need to pick up some of those citizens too.
Those citizens are amazing because you can fish them just straight swimming them or fish them like a jig.
See, that's what he was saying too. And you can fish them like around stuff, because I didn't realize the inside was hollow. He said fish them around the same spots I would a frog. And
I don't know if you could see it or not, but I don't know if you're going to be able to know the teeth marks on it.
Oh, yeah, you can see.
Oh, yeah.
They like to chew on it. And when they chew on it, they swallow it.
Are those still like impossible to get? You have to wait for the drops or whatever?
They're not quite that hard to come by because the last few drops he's been doing them in like enough volume that they're not crazy. The last like 2 or 3 drops, I was able to pick up 4 packages without bat an eye. Like, it wasn't a challenge at all.
But you still have to wait for the drops.
Yeah.
I'll piss.
There's another guy on Instagram, chr.swimbaits. Definitely different size and profile, but similar to the Citizen 6. And it's his Chuleta Junior. It's 5 3/4 of an inch. And it's got more like of a swimming tail than it does like a boot tail that kind of kicks side to side like your Citizen. But they're phenomenal baits, and you can get those like all the time. And to me, they're almost like 1-to-1 for what you can do with them and how you fish them. The Chuletas do a lot better just like straight swimming them. The Citizen definitely has a little more versatility, but it's down that realm, and they're a little bit cheaper. So something to keep in mind if you're interested in more soft bodies but want to try getting something a little cheaper and more readily available. He's great. I've bought a ton of baits off him, and I've caught quite a few fish off him too.
I actually see a comment from Patrick.
Yes, I've got 2. Yeah, actually that was when I froze. So I just left my face like that for the last, 45 minutes of the stream. I froze like that, and I said, that's actually the face that whenever Randy calls me, Dizzle calls me, that's the face I make, and it just froze.
If anybody notices, that's my profile picture as well.
Love it.
Oh, Dizzle, you didn't make it that, you nerds.
I did.
Okay, so we've got a couple of gear questions. Speaking of being a nerd, I'm a huge gear nerd. I love talking gear. So I've got 2 of these, and they kind of go together. So Rob, my setup is only good for 3 to 4 ounces. What's a good bait for these numbers? So, and I want to also reverse that too. So, because this is the next question, Fishing Fix. What size / action rods do you use for glide baits? So let's say for beginners, because I think probably most of us aren't throwing more than a 4 ounce starting out. So what do you guys think? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm gonna be selfish here, and I'm gonna say let's keep it to this question. And what would your guys' swim bait setup be for up to 4 ounces? And then what baits would you recommend? So kind of a 2-parter, I know. But
keep in mind, Andrew, that pretty much every 10-inch glide that we have is like 5+ ounces.
It's 6.
So this is like 8 inches and smaller.
Yeah, which is definitely way above average. So
what bait?
Yes, baits and gear. So tell us
actually this
if anybody that's watching that's getting into big baits, what would you guys recommend for up to a 4 ounce? And then do you have a combo that you throw your little tiny sissy swim baits on that are only 4 ounces?
I
can tell you a bait right now.
I have a few.
Do it. And if it's stuff I want to bring up, I'm gonna
the Tiny Clash. I got a Tiny Clash there, and this is actually a custom glide. It's like a chopping glide. Look at that.
That's a bluegill profile. I feel like you don't see a ton of those.
And that's from MDC, which he's based in Maine. Wicked nice guy. Makes some great baits.
Yep. Yeah, they're sweet. But for a rod setup,
well, the question was what can he? His rod is rated to 3 ounces. Could stretch it to 4.
Yeah, it's rated 3 to 4 ounces.
I would do some sort of shell cracker or the Arashi Storm Glide.
Yep.
Those are cheap. They're like $40, $40.
Bait Sanity Antidote glide bait too, which is like a 7.5 inch glide. And I think it's
I'm gonna bring these up
about 3 ounces. Hang on, I can tell you exactly what it is.
It's like 3 to 4.
3, 2, 1, 2.7 ounces.
Oh wow, teeny.
Yeah, and it's a great bait, and it's cheap. On Tackle Warehouse, it's currently $33. It was originally $27 when it first dropped. They're great. I had 4 of them before I moved up to the big boy, which it's tied onto my rod. I'm going fishing with it in the morning.
Yeah, I just straight up curb stomped myself into the 250. That's what happened to me. And then I got addicted.
So the bottom. There we go. Dizzle gets upset when he's on the bottom.
Bait Sanity is all one word. That's a good one to start with if you want to look at a glide.
I do. I think I actually have a Bait Sanity still in the tube. They ship them in a tube, right? I think it's still in the tube because I got it and I was like, wow, this looks way bigger than I thought.
First one, the
way
Antidote.
Above average.
I think it's 7.5 inches. It's 2.7 ounces.
Yeah, I think I got the bread. Actually, I think I threw the bread one. Hold on. I think I have one of these.
Throwing loaves?
Yeah, throwing the old loaf out there. Yeah, they've got some cool colors because I think when they first released, they only had a handful.
Yep.
And then they did another edition and.
Ooh, that bluegill color looks good.
We have a ton of bullhead around here with that yellow belly. That would actually be. I've seen them cruise and shallow. That might be a good one around here.
That yellow perch is really good.
Or you could buy one of these.
We have a bunch of yellow perch around here as well. What do you got here?
This is the Defiant 210.
How much are these?
These are
Oh, this is the soft bait.
65.
This is another soft bait.
Whew.
Yeah, but isn't that like 4 ounces still?
I think so. The 4.2, I believe, and
Might be pushing it for a 3-ounce rod.
and even the bigger, like the big stepdad one of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the
247.
247.
Yeah.
Large.
And
I've
these
heard
are
of the
line
storm
throughs as
ones.
well.
I think I do have a Storm one as well.
Storm's
threw
good.
that. I think I actually got follows on that one day.
What about
Storm-
the bull shad?
The other one, do you guys throw the first day I had like multiple follows was on G-Rat baits. Have you guys thrown this one? Is it the Sneaky Pete and then the Pistol Pete?
Oh,
yeah.
I've heard of
seen
them.
it. I almost
fished
bought
it yet.
one, but I did not.
Yeah, so the first day that I had follows was on one of these.
I've heard good things about those, and those would be good too because I think those are probably only like pretty close to 3 ounces.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 2.8 or 3.2.
Pretty
the
much
top, yeah, there you
anything
go.
like 8 inches and
2.4.
lower, it should be good for that rod.
Okay. So so let's flip it around here. So those are some good ones. Also the Storm. So let's say for gear though, let's say if it's somebody newer looking to get into it, do you guys have like kind of a more beginner budget friendly that's not going to break the bank to throw like up to 4 ounces on?
Lose makes their Super Duty rods. At least last I checked, they still make them, and they're 150
I've
bucks.
got one of those. Yeah.
And they're like I have 4 of them, or had, and now I'm swapping them out. And we're sponsored by Douglas, so I'm slowly swapping those out.
Okay.
I would say Douglas, but I wouldn't put their X Matrix rods quite in like that beginner budget phase. They're pretty close. If you want to make that next step up, then I would 110% say go Douglas rods. Lose is really good. Dobbins is like huge in that scene.
That's
like
the
even,
other one I got. Yep.
Bullshad
That's what
has
I've
a
heard.
Dobbins signature rod. So like those are great, and those will put you in the low 100, like probably the 130 to 150 range, and those are the only two I can speak confidently to. Again, Douglas would be the third, but you're now getting like the $300 plus range with those.
Yeah,
But my God, are they nice?
Yeah, I've actually got the Fury. So I got the Fury swim bait when that was the one that everybody kind of recommended for beginners. But yeah, I forgot they come out with the new Mike Buka.
I think
What's this rated up to?
Jesus.
2 to 8 ounces. Yeah, so that should.
Dude, 2 to 8 ounce rod, if you can find that covers basically everything you could ever want to throw for big swim baits, especially for a beginner. The moment you start, I'm pretty sure no beginner is gonna spend $200 on a 10-inch glide.
I mean, if you're gonna want, if you
after they get the bug, because it seems like a lot of people do shortly after getting into it.
if you want to spend a little more money, like if you've already been into the big baits, you want to spend a little more money, I highly recommend, and you only want to fish like a 2 to 6 ounce bait. The Douglas X Matrix, the DXC 711 6F, which is a 7'11". 6 is heavy, I believe, and it's a fast action. But
you'd probably have to go to
I
Douglas'
can't go the other way.
website. 'Cause
Oh, okay.
Tackle Warehouse doesn't really carry much for them anymore.
Yeah. I
Gotcha.
don't know if you can see that with the lights all, but this is an awesome rod for that size bait.
Okay.
And they're a little more like it says it's like a fast action, but it still is like a little parabolic, I guess.
Still got a good bend
They're
to
just
it.
very smooth when you set the hook.
Yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
feel like a broomstick, even though it's rated for something heavy enough that it should be like a broomstick.
Mhm.
Right.
It's nice. I'm sorry, I've seen the chat. St. Croix is great too. And then the other thing for talking about baits, Debo, we were talking about it before the stream started, the Spro Chad. And like that's another great beginner bait because they're really not
Yeah,
that
they
expensive.
actually have those. Yeah. So
Like $75, I think.
no, I think
In
they're
most
50
cases?
bucks.
$50-$60, something like that.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, I
your
paid.
taxes.
Yeah, well, yeah, we bought it at Ben's Tackle Shack down in Massachusetts, another one of our sponsors, and he had the yellow perch I was dying to get. So
I don't throw yellow perch. I just
no, because I do too much.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna do something different.
Yeah, they had them in stock. I was gonna grab one and I didn't the other day, but I did see they had. I don't know if they still do. I don't know how fast these things are gonna fly off the shelf, but
What was
They
it?
usually go pretty fast. The Spro Chad.
Oh yeah. It's like they're in and then they're gone. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, $59. Looks like they've got quite a few right now. If y'all are looking to get one,
I might go buy one after
They're awesome.
the stream.
It's a different kind. I tell you what, Andrew, do you have one? I don't have one with me. I have it. It's in my day box in the garage. This is like, you look at a depths or anything kind of along that.
take a drink.
This is very, very, very much a glide. And when you, again, for beginners, anybody that's been throwing these forever already knows what I'm going to say. This is very much a glide. You can really, like, it's just good and really ideal for, like, those long, big S's. That Spro Chad is kind of like a jerkbait. It's a very choppy glide. Like, you can work it a lot more aggressive and work it tighter and faster. Not to say you can't get some nice S turns out of it, but I feel like,
Got it stuck.
party foul.
I just broke it in half.
No.
It just shattered. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say. It's a very choppy glide. So
That's like that's the real one though.
Yeah, but it's so much fun because you can work it really aggressive. You're like, with a bigger glide, it's like all real. Where you're just kind of like half crank, and then that thing, it's like you're almost snapping it like a jerkbait. It's like chop, 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 chop.
Exactly what he said. Yeah. So TJ, I don't know if he's watching at all, but he used to be huge into the big bait stuff. But that's what he said. He said, "Dude, just think of it as a big jerk bait and work it just like you would a walking bait." I'm like, well, that makes it sound way too easy.
Yeah.
So the difference if you've never fished glide baits, the difference between a chopping bait and a regular like glide bait like this, I mean, this is a hoog. I don't know if you can see it, but
That thing is beautiful.
this has not been stretched out by fish yet, but that is like a normal bend for like a nice gliding glide bait, and for a chopping glide bait, like chopping is like jerk bait, like it just goes cut, and it only moves like a couple inches at a time. When this is just doing that big sweep. That's the angle of a chopping glide bait that I have.
Wow.
It's just almost a 90 degree. So that thing is literally just turning on a dime and like doing 180s back and forth. And you kind of like smack it like Sean said, you smack it like a jerkbait a bunch of times, pause it, keep doing it over and over and over again. And I haven't gotten bit on this one, but I have got bit on.
Is Mr. Tightlines, is that a place up by you guys?
He's our
Yes,
boy.
he is.
Oh, ooh, that
Purgezilla.
was the one. God, that thing is beautiful.
Dude, he did a
That's the
killer job
crazy
with
thing
this.
about like all the garage, underground builders that you see coming out. Like, it's so cool the different stuff that you see from people.
You
So,
should see some of the stuff he
just
does.
so I can give something like by comparison. So that's a Psycho Gill from Lanciotti in the white and the chartreuse, and then that's the Purgezilla from Mr. Tightlines. And I'm only showing it for the sake of size comparison. I'm not like comparing baits here. There's a lot more of the Psycho Gills out there than I think this is. If memory serves correct, he said this is only the 12th Purgezilla that he's given out.
Wow.
So a little bit harder to come by, but give you an idea. He's got that. Then he's got what Andrew's got, the Curse Max.
Yes.
And then he has Bruce Gillis, which is kind of more in the similar size and shape and profile as the Psycho Kill, even though they're not similar, but it's more that way.
Yeah,
That
this thing is
Curse
pretty
Max
cool.
is sick.
It is pretty cool. I can't wait to catch a fish
People
on
are
it.
talking about all kinds of. We've got all kinds of good. I have heard of Unique. I've seen their stuff. They do some really cool looking stuff on Instagram.
Unique's good.
Gosh, tons of good talking here about different baits to try.
I've almost got all the major New England bait makers, and it makes me so happy. And none of these are wall hangers. I throw everything I own.
Yep. If I'm going to buy it, I'm going to use it, and if I lose it, at least I was using it.
Damn right.
Like I've lost this bait twice.
And then I bought scuba gear and went and found it.
First time he lost it was one of our better performing reels on Instagram. I was down in like it's like the in my storage bin in my Skeeter, and like that's all you can see in my hat. And he goes to cast, and you hear it snap, and I go, "Is that your bait?" And we got it back. No, he got lucky. He broke it off and only landed in like 7.5 feet of water, and I was able to reach down one of my 8-foot swim bait rods, and I grabbed a hook, and we got it back.
I hugged him.
I feel bad when I break off like a jackhammer.
Yeah. Dude, it was only a $200 bait that you can't get anymore.
Not a big deal.
So what
Threw up in
line?
my mouth a little
Question.
bit.
What line
Cool.
size do you guys use? So going back to those like 4 ounces, what would you guys throw those on?
Let me just stand up again.
Like 2 4 ounces.
I can. Do you have line to show? If not, I do.
I do.
All right. Well,
Big
before
game,
he
you
gets
guys
back,
use big game.
no, we were using 20-pound Abrasics from Seagar for a long time, and great line. It was nothing wrong with it. And then last year, April of 2022, here in the Northeast, there's 3 big fishing shows, and one of them is the newest one, the Northeast Swim Bait Expo. And Oliver was down, and he was representing not only Big Bass Dreams, but also Defiant Fishing. And I was down there talking to him about it, and they had several different lines. One of them was a 23.6-pound soft casting fluorocarbon. Soft? Is it soft? Yeah, because the smooth casting is their braid.
And they have heavy
And
cover.
he was like, you should, if you want to throw like a 10-inch glide, like your depths, this is like your minimum that you really should be throwing on. So I was like, all right. And that line was phenomenal, and it doesn't feel like it's too much, and it's nice and supple. So that's like primarily what we're running, or
Okay.
20-pound
heard
heavy
of that.
cover from Defiant Fishing as well. One of those two, either the 20-pound heavy cover or the 23.6-pound soft casting, both from Defiant Fishing.
But this is the heavy cover. This is only the 18.4, but I use this for like spinner baits, chatter baits, moving baits, stuff like that. But I am switching over
Did you say
from the
18.4? 18.4 pound?
Well, that's the thing. Like every other line manufacturer out there just rounds it to the nearest like whole pound for whatever the line rating is. And when Defiant was developing all their line and getting it out there, and they had Oliver involved with it, we were literally just talking to him about this when we were all there up there together at Champlain for the fishing camp we all worked. And we got talking about that, and he was like, why don't we do things different and tell people what it really is instead of rounding up or down away from it? Which, for me, I appreciate it more. And you know, I mean, you can always tell if you go and actually look at what the true line diameter is versus just looking at the line weight. But, I don't know, it's kind of nice to actually see like that extra decimal place to see what it really is.
Yeah, you never see that. That's why I chuckled. It's like,
they're
going to give you the extra.
Right? Is it a heavy 15 or is it like a really high 14?
Or is this like a 15? I probably better use 17.
Is it a P line 15 or is it?
Yeah.
Line 15 is everybody else's 10.
Yeah, softer, cast better, but yeah, usually got to bump up one.
Actually, it's funny because I have 2 boxes of P line up there that have been sitting there for about 6 years.
Is that the floor clear?
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, floor clear. You
it
gotta
is.
go up. Yeah, it's
no bueno.
It's just I don't use
it's
it.
good casting line. It's a good crankbait line, but you got to bump up one.
Yeah.
I'm big into that. I like the P line tactical a ton. That's usually my go-to. But yeah, like the floor clear. Some of the others are, got to bump up.
For the smaller baits, like the 3 to 6 ounce, or not 3 to 6 ounce, 3 to 4 ounce baits, probably go with the 23.8. I think it is.
No, it's 23.6 across all of them, whether it's the
23.6.
soft or the heavy.
So it's that, or when you're getting into the bigger baits, I got a 28.3.
Yeah, I forgot. You went up to the next step above what I did. I stopped at the 23.6, but you went to that. I think it's 28.4 is the next one up.
Yeah. So I am actually switching. You're going to be surprised because I haven't even told you this. I'm going to switch into 100-pound braid with a 40-pound leader.
We have that shock leader here at the house, by the way.
I know.
That's like musky talk. We're going musky fishing here.
Yeah, but when you're throwing like a 10-ounce bait.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, because I know a lot of the musky guys around here throw like, what is it, 80 or 85, like 832 on it. You know, with
that's
like
crazy.
a 25-pound leader.
I want to go musky fishing so bad.
30-pound leader, whatever.
I'm supposed to be going tuna fishing here pretty soon.
Oh God, I bet.
Oh, you're going out with grub, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. God, we've got all kinds of questions. Y'all are killing me in chat. We're almost. we were at 202 there for a minute. I was going to say we're going to get the first giveaway rolling here. Okay, let's see. What is? Oh, whoops, we already did that one. Sorry. Here, no more drop shot talk for the mate. Question: what is the best finesse lure not using a spinning reel or BFS? So on a bait caster, do you have like your favorite? This is my kind of finesse-y bait caster go-to.
Beast Coast Hustler.
You know what? So he was reading it, and I was like, I guarantee he was going to say the hustler, and I'm going to say the
Great
sniper.
old
And then
jig.
right before you open your mouth, I was like, I wonder if he'll say spy bait.
Or spy bait.
Because I
That's
was like, I
another
know
one
he
I'm
likes.
not
Or an Okashira, the screwhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can really throw that on a casting reel though. But like, if you get a good
You can make
jerkbait
it
rod, you
3/16,
could bomb
right?
a spy bait all day long.
Oh yeah.
Spy bait's fun, and
Yeah,
throwing that on a like 10-pound fluorocarbon on a good jerkbait rod, something that's like really really supple. That's my preferred way to throw it.
And
Yeah.
you're
But-
just like, because again, not one that I throw ever. So is it like a straight retriever? Are you fishing it like a jerkbait? How have you guys?
For a spy bait,
Yeah,
straight retrieve.
Spy
Straight
bait,
retrieve.
I usually do just a straight retrieve, sometimes pause it for a second. And then it kind of like falls down a little bit and then it keeps going again. But most of the time it's just straight retrieve.
Yeah.
okay.
And it's
Andrew's
impossible
got
to
some.
land fish on them.
I was gonna say Andrew and I for in 2019 and 2020
comforting.
we went to the St. Lawrence River for
I wanna
8
hear the
days and
story
9
again.
days. No, there was so much heartbreak on both of those trips for both of us, and his biggest heartbreak was on spy bait. And I remember was standing there with the net, like watching that fish go away, and I was like, "I'll cry for you, buddy."
Ooh,
It was the biggest smallmouth
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
Huge.
Yeah.
those are the ones that'll keep you up multiple nights in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I usually don't get too upset when I lose a fish because it's like, hey, at least I hooked them. But that one was like,
Yeah. When you see it's the thing too is like when you actually see it, like when you get it close and see it, it's like one thing when you're like, I think it was big. I don't know. Hell, I don't know. Maybe it was a snapping turtle. I'm going to pretend it wasn't even a bass. But
I've
it's
only
the
had
ones that-
one other time. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying,
Did I
it's the ones you
interrupt
get like that close and you're like, oh my, what?
I've only had one other time where I like kind of got upset about losing a fish, and it was at night. I was fishing on the backside of an island that he was on the other side, and I was using the
I'm sorry.
what the hell was that?
The Spro
Spro,
Rat,
The 50
the original.
side, the original Spro Rat, and I lost one that was I don't know. It was the biggest largemouth I would have ever caught after my 7.5 that I have up in up in New Hampshire. So, like anything over 7 pounds in New Hampshire is huge. Like
Oh yeah, same around here. My
Yeah.
actually, yeah, my 7's my biggest, and it was on the Miyagi.
Mm-hmm. Oh no shit!
Really?
Sick.
Yep.
Now
Kind of
he's great.
yo-yo on a Miyagi, and I was kind of yo-yoing it, let it die, and I was doing something I don't remember. Picked it back up. I'm like, oh, it feels like a fish. Oh, it feels like a decent fish. And then it comes up, and I'm like, oh, it's a really big fish for here.
That's how I got mine. We were in a place that's usually Dink City, and then end up.
Hey, my lake.
And it was in the middle of the winter.
Yeah, dude, that's my favorite part of that. Him catching his PB was we got a snowstorm less than a week before we went fishing. It was our first trip out for the season. And we literally had to, like, I was watching the weather, and I remember calling him on Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday night. It was either Wednesday or Thursday. And I was like, okay, if you help me throw the snowblower in my truck, we go snowblow the boat ramp and the parking on the side of the road. I think it'll be all like completely melted out and dry for us to go fishing Sunday. And it worked out. And we were the only idiots out there. There was still almost a foot of snow on the ground everywhere. And he fucking catches a 7-pound, 7-ounce largemouth.
Wow.
Water was like 38 degrees. It was great.
Guess what? It was on a jig.
Damn right.
Oh God, don't ask me it. Hey Debo, you know what the best lure is? I know, Dizzle. You
Puppy.
outfished me 1,000 times. Yeah, it's moose.
I like dogs.
Yeah, he heard his
Mr.
name. Good
Stubbies.
boy.
Dogs are better than
Stubby
humans.
dogs. Most of the time, that's true.
Kind of sleepy. He just had some pillow time.
Yeah,
Aw.
he's getting.
Good
Yeah, for
night.
some reason he, I will say, gets very passionate with pillows. Only when I'm on live streams for some reason. I don't know why. So, but now he's got his bed. Tom bought him a bed. One of my subscribed fishing friends bought him a bed. He's over there. I'm not going to turn it because then my camera will end up falling. But Tom, he loves the bed. Jackal, do you guys throw the Jackal Gantrell or Junior at all? It's like a multi-jointed.
I know that one. I don't have one.
No,
I have
I
one.
had
Never caught anything on it.
the Jackal Gantro.
Yeah, it's got like a
No.
swivel nose hook. I'll show you.
Yeah,
here
I know.
real quick.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, I haven't. I've never thrown one of those.
Okay.
I had a
Uh,
black dog. What is it? Black dog shell cracker.
Yeah, you had the bigger shell cracker, didn't you?
The
There's
big
two.
wood. Yeah, the wooden one.
Yeah.
And I traded it for a Joey shad, which, I mean, I didn't ever fish like wake bait. I'm sorry, I fish wake baits, but I've never fished like a crank down. And that was like kind of like a wake and crank. And I traded it. I like glides, so I ended up trading it for this glide here. So I still haven't caught anything on yet. So there's that.
Should we show off here? I mean, this is the only like other multi-jointed crankdown bait I have, and then Andrew's new one. These are from Tom's custom baits. He's got his shad 2-piece glide, and I've got my 3-piece golden shiner crankdown. And I think that'll go down to like 5 feet. So I got something nice at 8 inches that's gonna fit that niche for my crankdown applications. Excited for these.
I like
Andrew, I'm
I
gonna
like
borrow
the
yours to throw
golden
tomorrow.
the golden shiner color. I feel like that's one people overlook a lot. Like, oh, you have to have a bunch of golden shiners in there. It's like I've thrown gold, especially in like, jerk baits and other, like just regular hard baits, and seem to do really well with them. So
golden shiners are
in places with no trout in them
and caught giants. It's ridiculous. And but gold shiner is actually very prevalent up here in New Hampshire. So when I thought about it, I was like, okay, well, I literally have every giant swim bait that you can think of for every size and style in yellow perch. And then closely behind that, I have a lot of bluegill. And Tom's like, what do you want? I'm like, I could do something different. How about golden shiner? He's like, done. So I'm excited to try that. I actually know a guy. I'm sorry, I don't know him. Saw the pictures. I know of a guy that, 6 years ago now, caught a 10-pound 4-ounce largemouth in New Hampshire on a golden shiner. That's 4 ounces shy of the state record, tying the state record.
I say that's right at ours. I think ours is like 10, 12, 10 pounds,
Damn.
12 ounces. Yeah.
4 ounces bigger than New Hampshire's.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then you got Massachusetts, the anomaly, where their state record's 15 and like 3/4 pounds, something like that. Yeah, it's like Vermont is the same. I think Vermont and New Hampshire are the same at 10.5, and then Maine is like 11.2 or something like that. New York, I think, is like 12. Rhode Island and Connecticut are like in the 11, 12 pounds, and then all of a sudden you got Massachusetts, this freak that came in at 15 to 3/4 pounds. Like,
Yeah, it's because it's just sitting in sewage all day long.
much warmer water. It allows it to grow a lot longer.
To come through there.
What's that?
Let's see. Midwest Fisherman, good one here. Okay, for all four of us, what's your favorite lure / bait for shallow weed cover other than a hollow body frog? Well, that's the only correct answer, so anything else is wrong.
No, there's
I'm
one
kidding.
other correct answer.
There's
Andrew,
actually,
you want to go first? Or you want me to?
There's a few good ones.
Yep.
Not that one. It's not what I
So,
was thinking.
Going big side, what he just showed. Going in the smaller side, Texas rigged weightless fluke.
Fluke, yep. Mm-hmm.
You can work it like Senko and just let it sit there and do nothing. You can work it like a jerk bait and just crack the ever living hell out of it, which is amazing, by the way. If they get on a bite like that, and I'll throw just like a Zoom fluke. Andrew's throwing the Magnum one. You could throw the Yamamoto flukes. I forget what they're called, D-Shad or something like that. And I will throw it on anywhere from a 3/0 to 5/0 extra wide gap hook, but like the super duty one or whatever, the super duty line, I forget what the hell it's called, the super line. It's a much thicker gauge. So just having that extra weight behind it, you don't need a weight. It'll pull it down below lily pads and pull it through like that, stringy linguine kind of weeds. Mm-hmm. And you can just, especially like on a 5/0 of that thicker gauge, you can just crack it through the weeds, but it like kind of torpedoes as it's corkscrewing through the water. It torpedoes down and shoots back up and just keeps doing that while corkscrewing. And it's crazy because the bass either truck it like at the very bottom of that, like right in between each snap, or when it comes back up and out of the water, you can see it basically like just kind of kiss the surface, and a bass will come up and hit it like it's a frog. Mm-hmm. Some of the most fun fishing you can do.
No, it's yes. I love jerkbait fishing, and you can do it in the weeds, and it's great. It's a blast.
Let's see. A few other good questions here. We got to go with ours real quick. I was going to say, so back in the day, there used to be an old shaky head that I would throw on like a trick worm that came through the grass really, really well, like a pointed nose. I would say now for the way I fish, and it's my 1-2 with the frog, would be a Reaction Innovations pocket rocket. It's a little bit larger. It's like
Oh.
6 point something inches. But the key to it is using like an owner beast, not weighted screw nose hook with
So
the larger.
like this without the weight in it.
Yes. Yep. And that's going to allow you to pull it through the weeds and not have that nose keep pulling down your hook. Like even if you're using the EWG, once it, you catch one fish on it, or you pull it down once, that hole in the front of it will kind of get worn out, and you're trying to pull it through grass and it keeps pulling it down. So using a screw lock hook will save you a ton of headaches, and you can skip with it too. So it's always my follow up for
I like
a
skipping.
frog.
I really like Reaction Innovations. I've used a lot of stuff from them over the years.
They go under the radar. They're one that doesn't get talked about a ton.
Oh my god, their skinny dipper was my go-to for both a bladed jig and a swim bait trailer, a swim jig trailer for years, and they were phenomenal for that. And then their what was it, the Little Beaver? Forget. Those were phenomenal.
This was going to be my other suggestion too. Old school. Back in the day, we used to throw those before the Stanko. Lure Lab said the shallow weed cover, weedless sluggo. Absolutely, dude.
Almost the same thing as a fluke.
Yep.
You like the
Sluggos.
big ones for stripers?
Oh yeah, dude.
Ooh, it's like a 9 or 10 inch, maybe.
That's what
even
we
bigger.
were throwing when we went on that charter last year for stripers, I believe.
Yeah,
we were
I
throwing
think
those
they were-
bigger sluggos.
There might have been 14 inches.
Yeah.
That was
That
cool.
was so much fun, cracking a giant sluggo on a saltwater rod, just crack, crack. Zzz. Oh my god.
That's so much fun. Have you guys ever gone striper fishing? Do you have them native there, like?
No,
landlocked?
we have Wiper, which are
Wiper, yeah.
striper white hybrid. So,
Yeah.
but none of the big like 57-pound you see in these guys holding stripers. No,
Yeah, but
We
you
got a
got like
spot.
huge catfish, and like you guys got a whole bunch
We
of
do.
cool stuff out there. We don't
big
have.
muskie, big catfish.
I
Yeah.
want to catch.
Big
I just
pike.
don't ever
flat-
catch the big ones. So
We
I want
got
to catch a flathead so bad.
big pike in a few places in New Hampshire. They're all over Maine. Actually, northern Maine, but then you get into like musky territory up there. Vermont's got a ton of big pike, and we've caught our fair share. I actually ended up catching like a 44 to 46 inch pike on a jackhammer back in May, which was just way too much fun. Not my intended target, but very
Dude,
happy
pike-
to catch it.
I'll take an aggressive pike day over bass fishing. Like I love fishing for pike just because they're so mean.
Oh yeah,
They've got teeth. They're mean. They would rather just shred your lure than care about anything that you're doing. And I love them.
we
Dizzle,
Steal
what,
your lures.
It's like a toxic relationship.
oh God, yeah. Dizzle, what was your lure? You're sitting quiet over there. You're like, well, you tie on a jig, make it weedless, and throw it in the grass.
I was gonna say I'm waiting on Brennan to get me one of those prototypes for the
yeah.
floating topwater jigs, but God, I really don't. Besides besides topwater frogs, I don't really throw a whole lot of topwater. I mean, the fluke, I really need to throw more of it. There's been so many days, Debo, where you've dominated, and I didn't want to follow your lead and throw them on too. And they're very versatile, like you guys were saying. You could let them sink, run them up high. You know,
You can
I
literally
would
do
probably.
anything.
Run them like a weightless worm, like a floating worm you'd do in the spring. You can do that when they're chasing. And yeah, it's one of those that goes on like ups and downs, man. We used to throw them all the time, and then I kind of got out of it, and then like had another big craze of it, and then kind of got out of it. Like I don't know if you guys are like that. Do you get in your ebbs and flows? One year you're like really hard into a couple of lures, and then they kind of fall off, and then that's the way I am. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a nerd about it, but
Yes and no. I mean, there's always going to be the bite that is going to work for that day, or that week, or that month, or that year. I mean, you never know what it's going to be. It's either going to be the jig or it's going to be drop shot. It all depends on. I feel like it depends on your confidence level for that year, or for that day, or for that month.
True, and to his point, to expand on that, it's rare that we run into anything that like just kind of drops off a cliff on us, because we like to experiment a lot with what we're throwing and just like change things up a little bit. So we are always evolving what we do and how we do it. So we kind of miss some of that, where fishing the same things over and over year after year, that's like all of a sudden something drops off.
yeah.
With one exception. There was probably like a 4 or 5 year stretch where a swim jig with a swim bait in the back was just insanely good. and it has not done a damn thing for us really in the last 3 years. This year was the first year where it kind of bounced back, but it was like a really short-lived window, and then it just fell off the cliff again for productivity. So it's been.
Do you think that's because of this? So I think that ties into this too, and kind of a two-part question. So those dippers on the back of a jackhammer are freaking crazy. Talking about catching those. So kind of a two-part question. Do you feel like you have lures that have, I was going to add on to that and say that have kind of taken over some of your older favorites, which is maybe why? Do you feel like you fish a chatterbait now in the place of where you would have normally been fishing a swim jig and it's kind of overrun it?
It's more condition based.
Yep. And maybe that first year where that swim jig, swim bait combo just kind of fell off, like because we really got into the, like we threw bladed jigs a lot, but then that was the first year we got into jackhammer, and that really changed it because that is so much better at getting started a lot easier, and it stays vibrating at really, really slow speeds. And you play around with like different line and rod, and you can get it down like stupid slow while still doing what it's supposed to and hunt. But like every year we still get into the same conditions. Like, you know what, today moving bait bite probably going to work. It could be either that jackhammer or a spinner bait, or it could be the swim jig with a swim bait, and we will throw all three, or jerk bait, yeah, and we'll throw all four of those things, and that damn swim jig with a swim bait just died. And I can't get bit on. There was literally 2 trips this summer where like it went off hard, and then it just dropped off a cliff again. So I think it's the only thing that just seems to, for whatever reason, I think just too many people started doing it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Just throw them till you catch them. Throw whatever, everything, all of it. Your whole boat, just throw it in the water.
Dude, I've had days like that where I would just want to throw Randy in the water. It's been so bad. So. I'm kidding, Dizzle. Yeah, Dizzle's just upset because they don't make a Magnum War Eagle that he can't fish yet. So he doesn't need the Magnum. He's a finesse jig killer. Warren, dude, I completely agree. Explosive topwater pike bites, they can't be beat. They porpoise out of the water with a fury unseen by a lot of people. Once you experience it and you actually catch them that way, you will have a big respect for pike fishing. I think that's the way, like, people that I know that hate pike fishing are usually like tournament guys or the people that have had them take a bunch of lures.
Jesus,
like, I get it.
I messed up.
I get it. Yeah, if you're a tournament guy, it would be pretty aggravating if like they kept biting and cutting your stuff off, and but like just to go out and have fun and catch stuff, like, man, they're a blast. Gabe in the house, what's up, Gabe? Anyone throw a tube anymore? Also, dude, let me know when you're all set in, because we need to get you on. You're another one I want to have back on. We had multiple people say you as well. Yeah, if you fish the river around here, the old Mississippi, all the guys around here still throw the tube. They know what's up.
Tube works. It just flat out works.
Catches
lake trout too.
That's another one we don't have here. I've never done any of the Lakers.
We never specifically go for them, but it's really fun when we accidentally get into them.
Yeah, like I got a blade bait the other, like, 3 weeks, a month ago now.
Yeah.
We came up over this school of them, and I was like, we just see, like, on 2D, you see them just stacked, this bunch of fish. So I was like, So I just dropped down a bait blade, and I was like, brr, brr, thunk. I'm like, oh, dude, I got something. I have no idea it's over like 45 feet of water. It's pretty cool.
Let's see. I'm going to get a giveaway going here. Man, we were at 200 there for a little bit, and then we dropped off. We're at 190. So listen, we get up to 225. I will do another giveaway tonight, some random lures and funness. Let's see. I had a good question here, and it just completely slipped my mind. Somebody said, I think Gramps is into the stupid tube. Oh, Dizzle, change your damn picture. Yeah, Gramps is big on the stupid tube, which is one I hadn't heard of until him and Hella started talking about it. But yeah, the stupid tube is, I just always fished them open hook, like a regular tube jig deal. But that is a cool, fun way to throw them as well. Let's see. God dang it, I don't remember what it was. I had something that I was going to lead us into this. I don't know. Dizzle, what do you got? You're quiet over there. Dizzle, throw us some meat here. What do you got scheming over there? I've been
doing some chat reviewing here.
I see that.
On this. I think the biggest questions I had about the big swim baits or the bigger baits in general, I mean, have kind of all been touched on. It's the what was the first step of trying to actually get into it? What's the combo, that you usually need to use to get into it, your rod along with your line itself. I just personally, I'm not a big lure guy whatsoever. I don't know what it is. I think the biggest lure I have in my tackle box is probably an ounce. I don't know as if I own anything much more than probably an ounce lure. I mean,
it's
it's
definitely
just
a
never
commitment.
anything that I've ever done,
It's definitely a commitment because you're not going to want to go out and spend $100, $200, $250, $300 for one bait, and then
Yeah.
throw it on a rod that can't handle it and break the rod and then lose the bait. So I mean, like, this is my swim bait. This is my big swim bait rod here. This is an 8-foot. It holds 25 to 40 pound lines. It's rated from 6 to 14 ounces, and I'm using a Daiwa Tatula 300. And
yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. It's
I need that. It's not like
all in. It's
choice.
it's an upgrade, or it's not necessarily an upgrade, but it's a step up in size of everything: the reel, the line, the rod, everything. And it's very intimidating to sit there and kind of think, okay, this, and this. And like you said, I have stiffer rods and things like that, like frogging rods. I could probably do, over an ounce, probably ounce and a half, maybe
you
2
could probably
ounces.
2 to 3 ounces on like a big stiff frog rod.
Yeah, but then it's like everything else. I don't know. It's always seemed interesting, and I've started to buy. This for me is a huge lure. The baby bukas. I've got a handful of those. I've never had any luck on them. Yeah, Debo, what was the soft plastic one that we were throwing this year? That one's probably over an ounce.
Oh, the mag drafts. We tried the mag drafts.
Aren't those about an ounce ish? Maybe
they're actually a little heavier. Well, the 6-inch or the 8-inch?
6-inch. Whoa, hold on. Yeah, we're not ready for the 8-inch stuff.
Yeah, the 6-inch is probably like an ounce and a half. The 8-inch I know is actually 2 3/4. Because I remember weighing them one day because I got curious and I was like, holy shit, that's a lot heavier than I thought.
Yep. He's like, oh, this little tiny finesse bait here.
Like,
cool story,
it's funny. You just held that up, and it's like
same size as an egg.
Yeah, it looked tiny. After you showing all those gargantuan baits, you're like, oh, this little guy here.
Mine's not that size.
Those soft bait for soft bait.
That 6-inch swim bait looks way bigger than that.
That's a mag draft. So much fun to throw that.
I've I got us something else because I felt like they didn't do great at like slow speeds. I feel like you had to speed them up when we were throwing them.
Yeah, you definitely can't really like super slow roll them.
I got us something. Did I bring those out? I got us something the other day. I don't think I got them.
They make the mag slow for that.
To be. Oh no, it was. I got a different company that they said we're supposed to be good at slow. I don't remember where I put them, but
come on. There's only 73 entries in this. Come on. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, what's going on here? Hashtag North. We'll be up. We better be up over 120 here. Come on, guys.
82. 82. Come on. Let's see. 85.
208 people in here watching. We'll get over 100 here. This will be a random giveaway. And if you're a winner, maybe I'll try to cater it to you. If there's we've done a bunch of talk tonight. Maybe, just maybe I've got some large swim baits. I'll throw one of those in for you.
Ooh, there you go.
Do a little, a little large swim bait action. I think I've got some of the storms. I've got some of the S waivers. To kind of get you started on something.
Forgot about that.
Small.
We never did. Right. S waivers are phenomenal.
S waivers are good. The storm. Actually, my first glide fish, I believe, was on the Arashi Storm. It was the blue and clear one. The blue and white one. Or blue and silver. I don't know. Blue and something.
Oh, that's
we're 3 away from 100. Come on. Let's get 150.
That might be a stretch. 150 on. We'll see. We'll see how much we get over 100 here. We'll get a giveaway rolling.
There we go.
Let's see. What else do we got for questions? Somebody else had. I got all my starred questions. What do you guys got? What do you fellas got for us? You got any fun questions we can go the other way with?
What's your PB Smalley out there in Iowa?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I am not the guy to ask. I don't fish for them enough on the river. Like 4 pounds, I think was.
I see.
That's solid. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, 3 point. I don't remember what it was on a recent trip. 3.8, I think it was.
That's still good.
Yeah,
That's
so
still
close
good
to
fish.
four.
I don't remember what mine was, but it was very shocking when I caught it because it was in a non-river fed lake that I didn't even know had smallmouth in there. But it was the lake that we just fished at the
You caught it on a
last weekend.
frog, right?
Yeah, on a frog.
Yeah, got his
Smallmouth on a
PB
frog.
Smalley on a frog.
That's
Super
I was
awesome.
shallow.
jealous.
Just explosion, and I was just like, "What the?" I didn't even know they were in there.
That's cool. Yeah, I've had some places like that where you start fishing and then all of a sudden you catch a smallmouth out of nowhere. You're like, what?
Mhm.
Shit, yeah, those were in here.
That's like I caught one with our buddy. Oh crap! 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, on a buzzbait. Water temp was 80 degrees. It was in the middle of August, and this thing was in 5 feet of water. It was a 4 1/4 smallie
Wow.
on a buzzbait. Still the most surprising smallmouth catch I've ever had.
Yeah, it's crazy when you catch them like that. Like you read all these textbooks of what these fish are supposed to be doing and where they should be at, and then it's like you get one of those one-offs, and it's like, man, you just never know.
Right. I mean, I've had smallmouth bite my bait, and I'm like, nah, it's just a perch.
Brendan,
In a 5-pound smallie, it's like, oh,
Twice.
yeah. And then
Brendan,
obviously,
what was yours? I thought I had it. Did I skip over it? Ask it again, because I'm not going to go all the way back through 17,000 North comments. All right, let's see. We get to 115 and I'll draw here. 3 more people. We have 206 watching. We get 225 people on tonight here. We're going to
I'll
peg
do
these
it.
guys for a few more questions. We'll get
Oh, I
somebody in
can't.
here.
I can't do that.
No, you
Listen,
can't.
Randy Jr., you guys can't be entering in here trying to get the stuff. You and
Yeah,
Dizzle,
I entered for somebody.
I'll be running the giveaway and I'll see Dizzle's name pop. I'm like, Dizzle, what in the hell are you doing?
I can put
You
my
have-
name in for South Jersey. He said he can't do it from his
I
phone.
put
It won't
mine.
let him.
I put mine in for him.
Oh,
Is
there
what I
you
said
go.
anyway.
Perfect.
Dizzle, we'll allow it this time. All right, let's see. So Brendan's going to type that back in and see what his was. We're at 112. We need 3 more.
Three
Well,
more.
we're waiting for those
That's-
3.
that's-
Come on.
little more
What's
than
your
half
guys'
of how many fingers you have.
What's your
Okay,
guys'
so-
water like right now? Is it?
Oh, that's
is
what it
high,
was.
Super high, super low, dirty,
That was
clean.
the question I
What's-
couldn't think of.
It's honestly
Everything
kind
you
of,
just said. It's everything depending upon where you are.
Yeah.
Most of our lakes and ponds are very natural. There's a lot of lakes and ponds that are natural that have a small dam on it, so it's raised it up like 5-6 feet above what the natural level used to be. So it's all over the place. But a lot of that high water we had from the flooding, quite a bit in New Hampshire, but not as bad as Vermont had. A lot of that is kind of gone by the wayside. So most of it is back to normal water levels, maybe a smidge high. Like I know Champlain's still 3 feet above what it normally is.
Jeez.
Donald Brown.
Are you in here, Mr. Donald Brown? You have to be present to win. If you are in here, Donald, you're going to need to email me at debosfishing@gmail.com.
He's
Oh,
here.
He's here.
He's here.
Oh, he's here.
All
Hell
right.
yeah.
Donald, email me there with a screenshot of your YouTube so I know it's you and not one of these imposters trying to get free stuff. So I know it's you with your address. And if there's a special lure or something you'd like, if you fish big swim baits or if you love spinner baits, whatever it is, let me know and I will try to cater the box to you. Write you down here real quick.
Yes, that's
I
cool.
think we're literally just the opposite as far as water conditions are concerned.
Yeah.
We talked about this on our last live. If you go back in DEBO'S videos, there's a place that we would always go and do a lot of topwater fishing, whether for frogs or a ton of pike. We actually stopped there last weekend and the lake's dead. It's down basically to mud puddles.
Oof.
All of our water is probably 3, 4, maybe even worse in some other instances, like 5 feet low as to what it is normally.
It's crazy.
bad.
That's what I was going to ask you guys when you said some of those bites have died off. Like, so here in the Midwest, we have a ton of, vegetation-y, grassy, coontail, all kinds of weird hydrilla, mozilla, pondzilla stuff that I don't even know what the hell it is, but it's, vegetation.
Zillazilla.
Skunkweed,
Yeah, skunkweed,
Godzilla.
brittle braid.
Godzilla. But a lot of the places we used to have such good luck fishing that kind of stuff. And now that it's so far down and it's, a different type of lake, essentially, we don't have all that. So that was going to be my question when I said, man, I can't think what that was. When you said that swim bait or swim jig bite died off. Do you think it was any of that as well?
I mean,
Where like
there's no
kind of
grass
changing
to
length.
fish.
Yeah.
And you're throwing something that's not really making, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, or just a different
probably-
lake. Like, like some of the lakes that we had that used to be so full of grass, like you would have distinct grass lines and you could fish them and kind of predict where those fish would be. And then, or
Right now.
places they've sprayed. Like, I don't know if you guys have that a lot too,
Oh,
but like,
Oh, dude, it's bad.
yeah, they'll have the places that they'll spray. And it's like a complete, like I'll go to lakes this year or like last year, or the year before, whichever it was, that were like 180 degrees different from what we'd fished the past, 4 years.
There's a lot of fighting going on kind of all over New England with people that, I hate to generalize, but it's not generalizing if it's true. And there's a pattern. A lot of Massachusetts people coming up to their second vacation homes all over New England that are pushing to spray all these bodies of water everywhere so they can have, the same weedless crap hole body of waters that they have all over down Cape Cod area that they're trying to
Association
escape.
or whatever that is. And yeah.
They always
They
bring
want
up the
these
same.
nice sandy beaches and all this no grass. It's like, yeah, but this isn't your state. Get out.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating, and it's always funny because one of the things they always say is it'll make it so much easier for fishing, and the fishing will be better because of that. It's like, no, you clowns. It's the vegetation makes the fishing better. If you remove it, there's no cover for the bait fish. Then they'd get nuked, and once there's not enough forage for the fish, then they start getting stunted growth because there's not enough to go around to support that anymore. Like literally, the best lakes that we fish have like moderate weed coverage. And I can't remember what podcast it was I listened to. This was a couple months ago. But they had a fisheries biologist who started a company down in Texas. Like that's what he does. He builds and manages private ponds. And over the years of doing this and like conducting research while, both being a fisheries manager kind of guy for the state and also doing the side business, they found that the ponds that are most likely to produce the biggest fish have 33-ish% weed coverage. And the ponds that have the worst average and produce the worst quality of fish are either 100% vegetation or zero. So
Sure, and I get that. Like I get the places that are so choked, like you've got to do something like short of raking it out with those cool rake boat things that I would like to drive one of those and just go
I know,
rake
just
stuff.
chug.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. Anyway,
be a lot of
short
fun.
of that, like, yeah, what do you do in those places? But yeah, the places where it's like you've got, I don't know, that's the tough thing is like trying to, because those people have a right to be there as well, swim and have fun, and it's not what I want to be doing on the water, but it's like how do you level that out and like, listen, I understand you want that, but like there's a crap ton of people that fish here and bring, I don't know.
There was actually a big
Water
a big one.
combines. Yeah.
There was actually a really big thing going up in Vermont for this one specific lake, and some dude decided to go out and start dumping chemicals in the lake to kill the grass, just because he felt like he could do it without any repercussions.
I know better, man. It's strange. We have those people here in Iowa too. Like
crazy, and then the EPA gets involved, and then it's just like, oh, okay, you're going to prison now. See ya.
Yeah,
dude got arrested.
Idiot.
Good.
Serves him right.
I know that's like a huge thing, especially like the crazy thing is I remember, I don't know, this is years back now, maybe 15 plus years back. One of the places that we would go, Debo and I, and fish during the spring and summer. Ice is over, obviously, and somebody decided to drive their vehicle out there, and like those people that go through the ice in their vehicles are, very, very in debt after they have to, for us in Iowa, we have to pay somebody from like Minnesota or something. It's the closest place to come down and try to fish your vehicle out. And then you have to pay for all the water pollution and stuff like that from your vehicle.
I think around here, it's like $1,500 a day.
If the vehicle's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not cheap.
And then you got to pay the tow company to come out and do it. So that ain't cheap.
It's super expensive. And people don't understand, like, it goes back even further, with all these bodies of water that never had all the vegetation in them before. The whole, I know every boat ramp around here has stop aquatic hitchhiking. It's like, make sure your boat's cleaned off, make sure your trailer's cleaned off, stuff like that. And, that's a little, it's not saying that that's too far gone to pay attention to anymore, but it's sad that it wasn't more apparent and more, on people's radar back in the day when, we could have curbed a little bit of this growth, I guess.
Like we have milfoil. I don't know if you guys have milfoil out there, but
Mhm.
it spreads like wildfire up here. I'm sure it does there too. And one of the
Mhm.
spots that me and him have fished almost our entire lives, like even just growing up, they got a campground there. Like we'd go camping there as family as kids, and like place had so much milfoil, but you can go there and catch big fish. And then this past year, they nuked the place, and now it's hard to get a bite. But it's kind of starting to come back a little bit, and because they didn't get all of it, obviously. But the fishing is still good. It's just not as good as it was up until last year.
Do you
Yeah,
guys have any issues so bad where they go as far as to like drain the entire lake, take all the fish out, start over again?
No, if there's one thing New Hampshire's good about is protecting things like that. They'll never do that. The only time they ever drain a body of water is if they have to replace a dam, and that happens very, very rarely, and it usually only occurs on. There's only a few bodies of water I can think of actually, and I don't think there's any special circumstances to it. If the dam needs to be replaced, it needs to be replaced.
Right.
But it's rare. Like there's a smaller kind of quote unquote private body of water, only because there's no public access to it, even though every body of water in New Hampshire is protected by the state, is public, pending there's public land to access it. This is one case where there's no public land on it. For a bass boat, you can put it with a kayak, and they drained it like down to a stream, and then this one little like hole down near the dam for a full year because they had to replace the dam.
And it was a
Reservoir.
Like legitimately a field of grass.
Oh my god, dude, the grass looked gorgeous though. And then when we started watching the water fill back up, I was like, my god,
like,
I wish I could get my boat in there.
Cool.
So, there's another place, Powder Mill Reservoir, which is a really, really cool spot. That's another. They drain that down every once in a while to do repairs. That dam is pretty big. Like that was used to just be a stream, and they turn it into this giant reservoir. But it's rare. But that's the only time. Those are the only exceptions. Now, if you get out of New Hampshire, different story. Like Candlewood Lake in Connecticut, for the last 2 winters, they've drawn it down. I think they drew it down 16 feet this past winter. Maybe it was only 12.
Wow.
I mean, it's a big freaking lake, and it's deep.
Yeah.
Like the average max depth is like 50 feet, I think. It's like not crazy, but deep enough. Because a lot of the homeowners didn't want that ring of vegetation that's, from shallow out to like 10, 12 feet deep. So not this past winter, the winter before, they drew it down to like 8, 10 feet down. And all those weeds still came back. So they're like, okay, well, screw that. And I think they went down to 16 feet this past winter to kill it. And they did a damn good job from what we've heard, unfortunately.
Yeah.
State by
I know
state.
there's at least 3 lakes around us, right, Debo,
Yeah,
that they've
within the
full on drained.
Yeah, 10
taking
years.
all the fish
but
out.
Ours have not. Well, see, and I don't think a lot of them they even take the fish out. I don't know how that works. For sure.
No, sorry.
Because there's the whole thing of like mixing stock population or whatever they call it.
Right.
But ours has been because of other people, like we said, no one better. They're not fisheries biologists or anything, but they know better. And they end up stocking shad or whether it be gizzard, threadfin, wipers, all kinds of other stuff. Trying to play yellow bass have been a big one around here. 2 of them I know have been drained because of yellow bass, and they just stun everything just because they're so prolific. They eat everything that the little fish would normally eat. And
yeah, it's like us with rock bass up here, and it's like they need to stock walleye and trout. I mean, walleye and pike up here. Like it's getting to that point where all those big, deep glacial lakes that like everybody likes to fish for smallmouth in, like the biggest lake in New Hampshire, Lake Winnipesaukee. You go up there, you'll catch 150 rock bass to every like 5 smallmouth. Like
how big do they get?
Rock bass?
Like £1.5 pounds?
Yeah,
No.
about.
Would you? I wouldn't even say that.
The state record is pound to 7 ounces.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not
so
the
like
average
normally
size.
Average size,
half pound, maybe.
Probably about like 3/4 pound.
We have been a
Probably
couple
smaller
lakes
than
here,
most
but
of
I've
the
only
beach
caught
guys
like the
throw.
little.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're like, a pound. Yeah, they're tiny compared to the baits we do. Yeah, absolutely.
I caught
Speaking
one.
of,
That was.
go ahead.
I caught a rock bass. What was it? 3 years ago, Andrew? I was an ounce away from having a state record, and I was so upset.
Oh, that would have been awesome just to look in the record book and be like,
No, he was
"Yeah,
upset because he
no.
would have caught the state record rock bass.
Rock bass,
no,
I-
that would have been awesome.
No, dude, there's plenty of like non-target species I'd be more than happy to catch, but rock
Oh,
bass
come
is
on.
not on that list. And I got in the boat, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's huge!" And he just looks at me, he's like, "You have to weigh that." I'm like, "I don't want to." He's like, "You have to weigh it."
Dude, just to random, I think that'd be the most fun part is just to like randomly get on it and be like, oh, it looks kind of big. Oh, it's a state record.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
we,
know.
we weighed it 4 times just to make absolutely sure, and it was an ounce off. Dead nuts every time.
Dang.
All right, well, I guess I'm not getting that record.
No. Oh, shucks.
Brennan, so going back into the big bait stuff, what is the biggest bait y'all throw with confidence? And what is a bigger than average bait that each of you have a lot of success and confidence in?
I'll go first because I will be very quick with this. Andrew can elaborate greatly. For biggest bait I throw with confidence, depth's 250. Bigger than average bait that I have a lot of success and confidence in would be the Citizen 6 from Working Class Zero. So it's soft body big bait, but nonetheless, it's a big bait.
What would you consider average?
5, like 4 to 5 inches, because like you think about the Miyagi from East Coast, it's a 4 3/4 inch swim bait. Like there's a lot of those from a traditional angling perspective. Like that's kind of a bigger swim bait, right? Like most guys, I think swim baits, when from a traditional perspective, would be like a Kitech, like a 4.8 inch. Like that. That's
So I was gonna say, like,
swim bait.
what's just the regular skinny dipper? I mean, I think that's even like close to a 5-inch bait, isn't it?
I think it's
4.5, 5 inch?
4.65, something like that.
Man, I don't even know. Like,
You tell me
I got so many to choose from.
the
it's-
biggest bait you throw with confidence. I thought that was an easy answer for you.
the depth's 250, 100%. I've caught so many damn fish on this thing. And like,
And that's that the 10-inch you said?
this is the 10 inch. What's the question? What is a bigger than average bait? The depth's 250. Like, it's just, this is literally like my confidence bait. Like, if I'm not throwing a jig or a jerk bait or a drop shot or whatever, I'm throwing this. Oh, not anymore, because this is retired now. I haven't thrown it since, I don't even think I've thrown it since last year because of that. It doesn't swim the same. I can make it yep, whatever you call it. Like,
You
do
can
the
do it, I
whole,
believe in you.
Kick back to the 180.
yes, correct. I can make it do it back to make this thing do 360s, but that's not how I like to fish it. So I'm retiring this bait finally.
So what would you say? Okay, so here's a question to kind of tag onto that. And somebody asked this earlier, and I squirreled and got onto a different something. What are your, like, and I know it's going to kind of depend on time of year, but do you have, like, what are your 2 main? So like I was saying, like that Chad Shed, working at kind of like a jerk bait. What are your, like, go-to retrieves? Because I know there's, like, you can, reel it fast and stop it. You can go, so, for just a regular S motion, you can kill it and make it turn. Like, what have you guys found that has worked in your area for reeling it in, like the different retrieve type?
There's so many different ways. I feel like it all depends on the day, like how much wind there is, how much sun there is, like if it is overcast, like is it cold,
cool.
is it hot, like an average retrieve, I guess, would be like just a slow crank, like with the bigger glides. It would be like a slow crank and just kind of having it do this thing, and then doing like a quick half turn, and then it just goes boom, and it'll kind of glide back over to the other side, and then continue it. Like I would say every 6 to 8 turns, just do like a quick half turn, and they'll either hit it then or they'll hit it as soon as you start cranking it again. Like I've had a lot of success with that, or adding in like a big sweep, so it's like boop, and then it starts gliding again. Like that sometimes can trigger a strike. It's just
They not have the 250 on here? Or is there a
The
different name it
Slide
goes?
Swimmer 250, I think, is what it would come up as.
yeah, it's a
I don't see
175,
it.
and they have the 250.
175 looks like is the biggest. So how is this a
That one's cute.
It was go back.
7.5? Okay,
You
I
missed
could get
it,
on board
Debo.
with this. What?
Those
there?
work.
You
Those work
missed it. Go
actually
back.
really well.
Go back.
Oh,
a
I
page.
see it,
It's
the
right
blue
there,
one.
the blue one, down to the bottom. Right there
Oh,
next to
there
that bag
good
or
Lord.
whatever that was.
Right in front of me.
So that's the new
10
one.
inch, 6.1 ounce. Wow.
Mine's a little different than that. How big is it? How many ounces?
6.1
Or
ounces.
6.1.
Oof.
Yep. They're nice.
They must be popular. They're sold out.
Very
there.
popular. As far as like straight out of the box, big swim bait
Wow.
that does its job. That is very, very hard to beat. The
That's
thing
crazy.
that makes that bait so special, and having seen it firsthand with watching Andrew do it, with watching one of my other buddies do it, and then finally myself doing it myself, was you don't catch a ton of fish on that, but holy hell, the fish you call out of hiding is that they're second to none. It's just a giant fish magnet. And you go through a patch of grass and throw everything that you own 20 times and nothing will come out. And then you throw that DEBO'S 250 over the top one time, and next thing you know, you got a 5 and a 6 pounder just trying to eat its butt, coming right out, all the way out, running out of the grass. All of a sudden, you just see this blimp rise
Just
out of
darting,
that depth of
darting right out
vegetation.
of there.
And it will be an inch off its tail the whole way, and you'll do that time and time again. And that's the crazy thing about that bait.
We had a tournament up in Vermont last year. I was sick. I was sick as a dog. Like, I slept halfway through the tournament on the back of the boat.
Ooh.
And I don't ever really get sick. And this killed me. And I got up and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw this DEBO'S 250 all day. I caught one fish in the morning on a jig. We were in this one particular spot where I caught, I think it was close to a 6 pounder before.
We were there the weekend before, and you caught a 4.5, lost a big, and I lost like a 4 something, and then caught that 5 pound 9 ounce largemouth. And then just around the corner from that, you caught that 610, and you missed 2 more giants.
Yeah. So we came back to that spot during the tournament, and I had a 30-pound bag worth of bass following it.
That's not an exaggeration.
Like 6s and 7s following this thing.
I've seen it. So that's gonna be 2 questions. So that's a perfect two parter that you guys touched on earlier. And this part, I don't know how exactly to say it, but like, if you're getting into big swim bait fishing, or even for you guys, I guess, and maybe it's different, like if you're, doing tournament stuff or whatever, but like, do you guys dedicate the day to big swim bait fishing and it's like do or die by it? Or you're like, I'll give it an hour. If it's not working, I'm going to go to conventional. Like,
no, not even that. It's part of the routine.
You switch
part of the rotation. I am a whore for figuring out the bait, the bite, like the pattern. That is what drives me into everything that I do. And if I can squeeze a big bait into that, then I will. But if I don't feel like it's not going to happen, then I won't even pick it up. And there's been plenty of times where I'll go like 10 straight trips. I'll bring the rods with me just in case, but I'll never touch them. They'll stay in the rod locker the whole day. I don't care what technique it is, with one exception. I can't go out there and force anything unless it is a miserable day. And this is rare for Andrew and I now at this point, where like we have exhausted every option that we can think of. And I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to live and die by the jig the rest of the day because nothing else is working. And I at least feel comfortable in at home with the jig in my hand. So that's what I'm going to do for the last 3-4 hours we have today.
There's been days where it's just like nothing is working. Then you throw the big bait and then all of a sudden you get bit on it. It's like, okay, well, maybe we should have started with that this morning, you idiot. Like, the Dobbins, I think it's an 807 or 806, I believe.
You're right, in the 807.
Yeah, and then the Fury, I have the Fury swim bait one, which is like 806.
806, 805, yeah. If you guys don't know how to read those, the 80 is the 8 foot, and then 6 is the weight. So like heavy or medium heavy or medium. The higher the number, the heavier the rod is.
Yeah, what is it? The first digit is feet, second digit is inches, and then last digit is power.
Power.
Yep. Yeah, like
So-
this is an 807, so it's 8 foot
7
extra.
power.
extra heavy, extra heavy,
I think it'd be an extra.
On the Douglas, I think it's an extra heavy.
extra heavy. Yeah. So
So going back to the big baits. Okay, so let's say you've been throwing a big bait, you get follows. This is where I don't get it all the time because okay, so say you pull one out of brush and cover, like I get it. I could throw hopefully like a bigger Texas rig in something. I know where that fish is at. I saw where it came out of. You got the fish to show itself. I hear people talk about this. Makes complete sense to me.
Yep.
But there was a day that Dizzle and I were out throwing big swim baits. We had follows. I had, like you were saying, like a bag of 30-pound bass. Mine weren't that big, but I had like legit like 2 or 3 3-pounders falling in. And that was a eureka moment for me, like to get anything to follow a swim bait, but like watching 3 3-pounders. And I even had like a 4 or 5-pounder follow it that day. And it was just like mind blowing.
it happened.
But
It's nuts.
yeah, I couldn't get any of them to actually attack it. I was messing with my retrieves. And people will say, well, good, you got them to come out of cover, now throw. Well, fishing from the bank, these are like big rocky fishing jetties, and I'm just kind of casting all around. I tried throwing follow-up stuff in that direction. What
I'd be working down the bank. I'd be standing on the rocks as close as I can to the water and casting along the bank, working it back that way.
tried that. Nothing. I was casting out kind of at 45 degrees, and that's where all of them I was seeing them come in. So how do you have any ways to like generically
I mean,
try
you
to
could
follow
try
up?
and figure eight them like muskie. It works.
I didn't try that.
It does.
All
There's
of it
really
I
nothing you
has
can do.
Great.
Somebody
fish.
sold a Magnum Fluke. Somebody said try working a Magnum Fluke was the best follow-up they had when you couldn't see them.
The
I don't know
only
how true
thing
that
I
is,
know
but-
that works like definitively from talking to friends that have done it and then like seeing pros do it, like Steve Kennedy, big, like it's, well, him and Brandon Polnick are big and throwing like bigger glides. And I remember, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, in the St. Lawrence during the elites, Steve Kennedy was out there throwing I think it was either 7 or 8-inch glide. And he was getting these big smallmouth to come up, but rarely would they ever commit to it. But that was good enough for him. He did really well in that tournament. He'd throw the glide, get their attention, they'd follow it right to the boat, then they'd turn around and lazily swim off, and he'd fire 20 feet in front of them with a hair jig. And he was catching them like left, right, and
got
center
him.
doing that. And it was nuts. And I know guys that will
Wow.
do the exact same thing up here and all over, other parts of the country. They'll follow them up with just a wacky rig Senko, sometimes drop shot, Ned rig. Like it's hilarious, right? Because in almost every single instance, the guys that are most successful in getting a big fish to eat something after following and not committing to a giant bait is throwing something ridiculously small and lightweight. Just the exact opposite of the spectrum. You get them all fired up and they're like, that looks awesome. I'm going to eat that.
The
You
big
throw it.
baits work. The big baits
No.
get them out, but
Ooh,
then
snack.
throw the finesse. My brain's
Jesus.
spinning.
I
It's
just,
funny that you guys kind of bring up the have a follow up ready, something small and things like that. You don't know Debo too well because he will get kind of stuck on something. I always give him crap because if we go somewhere that looks froggy, we're probably going to fish there all day long and never move one.
I would say that's
inch
the biggest
from
thing.
it.
I'm not that bad with other stuff, but like if I get one frog blow up, I am completely fine burning a day trying to catch frogfish.
I mean, we'll do that for like an hour or so, and then we'll be like, okay, that was just a fluke, and we'll go move on to something else.
I
because
turn
they-
into that little
they-
kid picking rocks and chasing butterflies and go some more froggy.
I used to do that in
Oh.
T-ball.
Oh, gee, Debo, when can we move? You shut your mouth. We're frogging.
Like you could have been just catching it right at the end of that bite. Like
Yeah.
Right.
they could have been up
Yep.
in there, and you may have caught that fish at the end of that bite, and they were as they were moving out to like deeper water,
hmm
and then not catch anything. And then at that point, then we would move out, or we'd go try and find different structure to go fish, like deeper rock piles, or maybe some deeper grass.
I think
that's the
Debo, where
thing,
you had
like-
those follows from
Yeah.
was probably the deepest part of
Yep,
that lake.
because
too.
it comes right off a channel, and I don't know if they were just going right back out in that channel. And then, of course, bank fishing. I
I
can't
believe it.
see out there, what to do. But that's something that not only like live scope and stuff. I'm not into all the electronic stuff, but I was out with my buddy, and he's got the one where you've got live scope, and then you've got the one where you can like forward it into like a cone and look at them, like
Yeah,
in more of a-
perspective.
yeah, dude, that was like mind blowing for me. That was the first time I'd ever seen that. Dude, anybody that talks shat about
that way. That's the way to
electronics,
talk about electronics. He literally
Yeah.
works at a like custom bass boat like electronics installation
Oh,
company called
that's
Bass
awesome.
Fishing Electronics.
All I've got's an 11-foot John boat, so I don't know that I could put
You should
anything
put-
too crazy on
You
it.
should
But.
put
Oh, you can put
Panoptics
everything
on.
on
You
that.
can put live, do all sorts of crazy
See,
stuff.
I was
like
thinking
that.
about doing that with the Panoptics and then just rip it off for ice fishing, and I've got it all. I can double duty it. So
Do it.
We
Just
literally
put
have
pole
a
mount.
friend that has a 21-foot skeeter, and he's got his Panoptics or live scope mounted on his skeeter, but also a secondary mount to put it on his little 14-foot John boat, and then another setup to bring it out in the ice with them in the winter.
well,
mean-
maybe Andrew, I'll be picking your brain on some of that because Dad and I have been shooting around ideas of
All-
doing that this
All
year.
you need to do, because you do Panoptics for your ice fishing, right?
Well, that's what I would have to get. Yeah, I would get the ice bundle because you have to get the transducer for the boat, and then I could get the ice bundle thing to rip that off and put it on when I go
Yeah,
ice fishing.
That's all you got to do. You just get a pole mount for your boat. That literally just like
That's what I've seen guys build out where you can kind of steer. It's like a little thing
they
that you can
sell
flip
'em.
over and
it's almost like a trolling motor. It's like
yeah.
Tiller
a
thing.
handheld trolling motor, but
Mhm.
it's got you could honestly just put it on a trolling motor like normal.
Oh Lord, that's a whole different thing. I don't know the half
mean-
of what I'm doing with electronics. I can barely get my computer to work and me not freeze, let alone try to figure that crap out.
I know, we
What
had
are you
this
saying that
discussion
for,
before
Debo?
the
You're
stream.
gonna freeze any second now.
Yeah, I know. It's no freezes tonight, dude. I restarted. I was just telling these guys I restarted beforehand. So
I got you.
No,
I see what you're doing.
it's funny. Let's see. Okay, let's grab a couple more questions. We're coming up on 2 hours. I'm going to be respectful of time. They're an hour ahead, so I know they are probably tired upon tired. So we'll do maybe one or two more questions here. Let's see.
I have a Cooler Lid AP 120 question at 9:17. Speed of the reel. What do you guys? Is there something you have to have? Is there something you need to stay away from? What's your reel speed?
It all depends on what you're using for a bait, and that goes along with the action of the rod too. It's all going to be like a perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's got to be a close setup for the size bait that you're using, and the action. I mean, on my jerk baits, I want to get that retrieve as fast as possible, just because when you're jerking, it you got to pick that slack up real quick. So I just spin the reel with my finger, and I have an 8.5 to 1 ratio on my jerkbait rod.
because you're moving it really just with your rod. That's
Just snap,
picking
snap,
up
snap,
line with
and then spin it real quick, and it's already got the slack up. And the same thing with a jig. I want it to be as fast as possible, because if I miss the spot in a tree or I miss a spot on a little rock pile or whatever, if I'm flipping in or casting, I want to be able to get it in as fast as possible to get it back in to be more accurate with the next cast.
I like Josh in the
I
chat.
think
What?
What?
Cooler Lid did just say.
This is
I
normal
don't
talk,
know if
Joshua.
they're asking specifically about
I think he was
the
specifically
Dobbins
asking
Champion
about-
XP.
Yeah.
Oh, we got it for the.
I think he was
806.
specifically asking it too about big swim bait stuff.
Oh, big swim bait stuff?
Yeah, I said in the chat, I was like, 6.3 to 1. Like
6.3 to 1 for a normal person. Yes.
Yeah. That covers you and everything. If you need to go fast with something, you can do that with ease.
For you mere mortals who don't throw 12-inch baits.
I like
But
a
you can't
fast
slow down
reel.
when you need to.
I can fish extremely slow. Like I have a 7.1. That 300, that's a 20300.
he ordered it.
7.1, and that's too fast for most of the big baits that I have. But I compensate with how I use like the rod movement. And if I catch fish, you don't want to give that thing any slack. That drag is locked as tight as it can possibly go, and I'm horsing that thing, and that's why I use such heavy line, so it can't turn. It's just like we got a video of me cranking in that 610.
At 610, yep.
It was on top of the water. I'm just dragging it in, and it's thrashing, but I'm not letting it go.
You're talking about you're talking about 6-ounce bass, right? I do that all the time too.
Yeah, 6.1 ounces. Yep.
Well, that was something we learned from Oliver too. We had him
Yeah.
on. We were one of the first times we had him on our stream, and somehow that aspect of fishing big baits came up, and he was like, I think the question was like, what do you do on something like a giant glide with these giant friggin' treble hooks on them? Do you kind of finesse them a little bit so you're not helping them tear the thing out or what? And he was like, nope, dude, it's a big bait. And if they don't, like the Defiant soft body swim baits, it's a line through. So you set the hook on a good fish on that, the bait's going to slide up and they lose all the mechanical advantage. But, big hard body, even with swiveling hook hangers, it's still going to, there you go. They still have that leverage and mechanical advantage to help throw that bait. And he was like, dude, if you hook a good one, the moment you get their head turned just right and you do that fast, you just crack them. You get the rod up tip high and you start cranking down on it like you're fighting a friggin' tuna. And you keep their mouth blown out, wide open, full of water, and their head high. And then you essentially paralyze them.
Right. They're just like, God.
This thing looks so good. I made a mistake. I know I made a mistake. This is not a regular shad.
I almost made that mistake with the 5.9 or whatever I caught last year, because almost everything else I fished, like you get into that 5+ pound range, you got to kind of finesse it depending upon what you're doing. And like I hooked it, it turned its head, and I just like started like kind of playing the rod for a second. Andrew's like, just reel. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry. Just start ripping into him.
I mean, I've got a video of me doing it. Somewhere.
Okay, so we're going to end the night with, I'm going to pick your brain one more time. Guys, I do want to say, where can everybody follow you before we jump out of here? Tote your guys' stuff, man. You guys are full of knowledge. It's been a fun one.
I think my name is the same as...
Where can they find you?
So for everything Real Northern Bass, you can find us. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So YouTube is youtube.com/@Real Northern Bass, which is spelled that way. On the other side. That way.
That's cool as hell, man.
Thank you. My buddy did that for us when we worked. We had our own booth at the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo this year. The first time we did it. No, sorry. Actually, we did it last year too. And then this year I was like, let's spend a little more money and make it look a little fancier. So yeah, on YouTube, it's @Real Northern Bass, or you can find us by our old name, which was 603 Bass. There's still like, you search either one, you're going to find us. And then everywhere else you find us, pretty much Instagram and Facebook where we're most active. I try and stay up with TikTok as often as I can. Those are all Real Northern Bass. It's all the same. It's pretty straightforward. I just signed up for the new Instagram Threads thing. I'm on Fishbrain. I don't post on there as often as I should because, not going to lie, I kind of feel like a scumbag every time I post like a literal swamp in the middle of the woods instead of where we actually fished. So I was like, I should really stop doing this. But it is pretty funny. Some of the locations I'll pick, and they'll like, Andrew will catch like a 6.5, or I'll catch a 6.5, and then I pick
some
like
random
a brook.
spot. Yeah, that thing is like
the Antarctic.
You get people hiking through the woods, getting Lyme disease, just looking for your spot.
I got Lyme disease
feel
because
bad,
of
but
the Northern Bass.
It's pretty funny.
I got Lyme disease because I listen to these two idiots.
Yeah. This isn't even a lake. This is an old
Got a boat in here.
okay, so real quick, I'm going to pick your guys' brains on what's your favorite reel to pair with. Like, so Kulula was saying he bought the rod. What would you pair that with? Like that 806 Dobbins.
Oh, Andrew first.
I would do the Tatula 300.
Such a nice reel.
If you can afford it. If you cannot, I would go with the Lew's Super Duty 300.
Yep. Like Shimano and Daiwa are still kings in the market, and you just can't go wrong with anything they make. Period. And there's a lot of reasons people would knock Lew's. Some justified, some not. Once you get into like the $200 plus range on anything from Lew's, they're pretty damn good. And that Super Duty reel, I have 4 of them. Andrew, you have what, 3 of them, or had up to 3?
Yeah.
Bulletproof. Like we literally had 0 issues with those reels that entire time. I use all 4 of mine. And talking to a couple of local guys that are like, swim baits, that's all they do. Giant swim bait fishing. And even those guys that bought a couple have been like, dude, these are actually pretty damn good for their price. And, these are like diehard Shimano and Daiwa guys. So they just got curious and they tried to Lew's. So you can't really go wrong with any one of those 3.
And does that one have the aluminum handle side plate too? I know that's a big thing for like the bigger bait guys looking to make sure it has the aluminum frame, and like the Tatula 300 has that aluminum handle.
On the Lew's, I'm not so sure. Definitely on the handle, but on the side plate, I don't know.
If it is, I've got one.
No idea.
One of the Lew's, and it's one of the few at the $200 price range that actually has the aluminum handle side plate. So if it's that one, Let me look real quick. Does it have the round wind knobs?
No, I don't have that. Well,
On the Lose?
On the Lose, yeah.
Yeah.
the Lose
Yep.
does.
Then I
right
think
here.
that's the one because it's one of the few. Because even getting
God,
up
I
into
love
like
those grips.
the custom and like even the old Hyper Mag, none of those did. It was all the C45 carbon side plate. So
Mhm.
I forgot what I was doing here. I would agree that is one
We're
of
doing
them. Now,
a podcast.
what's that?
We're doing a podcast or live stream. Whatever you call it.
Yes.
Sorry, I
Being
interrupted.
cheeky.
You said you
I
didn't
forgot
know
what I was
what
doing.
you're doing.
Jumped right on it.
Well, see, I was going back trying to look this stuff up, and dude, my brain like
I feel you.
I used to get punched in the head a lot back in my younger days, and now I
You're
feel
gonna
like
keep getting
it's
punched in the
catching
head a
up.
lot if you don't get it together.
Shut your face.
I've had-
This one is
I've
it?
more
This one?
concussions.
Super Duty.
That
Yeah,
one,
so I have we both have the 300, and then they had a 300 wide too, which is the one I really like a lot better. But both of them are great, but the 300 wide, if they still make it, that was a phenomenal reel.
That's
I
the one
don't
we use
think
for all
they
our
say it on here. I had to go to the Lose because somebody told me it did. And I'm pretty sure this is the one where it's the actual aluminum handle side plate as well. So this is aluminum. I'm almost 100% certain. Let me look.
Yeah,
I
Debo
would
breaks
say-
those. He sets his hooks so hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
Oh
went
yeah,
up on price
yeah.
too.
That's aluminum. That is absolutely aluminum.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one, which is interesting. This actually went up. These used to be, I think, $199. But like everything, they've gone up. But yeah, it was one of the few at $200 in that price. Yeah, and people that say loses crap, like I don't buy into all that.
I don't buy it at all.
No.
They're phenomenal.
We fished them exclusively for the last
5 years?
4.5 seasons before they ended up dropping a ton of people, and we were part of that, which is fine because then we ended up signing with Douglas rods like
Literally
the
3
next
days
night.
after.
Yeah, we got a call from the next night. So here you're not Lose anymore. Like that is correct. We don't have a real sponsor anymore though.
I do
did
say
this.
buy the aluminum frame, man. They last a lot longer. I can attest to that.
Oh, yeah.
Unless for a guy that catches 6-ounce bass and can break a reel, like imagine what these guys that actually catch big bass like these fellers could tell you.
I have completely destroyed brakes out of. I literally take the side plate off, dump the brakes out, put it back on, and keep fishing.
Well, a lot of people saying for the budget, and that's kind of what I heard too, was for kind of the budget. It was one of the best ones out there. So.
Mhm.
All right. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for joining tonight, dude. We went all over the place on lures, baits. Thanks for helping us with stuff that I'm really not comfortable with. And I know probably a lot of my subscribers aren't as either. For being down to earth, cool guys, just picking stuff apart and talking fishing. So
Absolutely.
everybody give them a follow. I know there was already 4 or 5 people I saw that said already followed, already subbed. So appreciate that. Appreciate the love. But that's it. We will be back again next Saturday. So thank you all for watching. And until next